All right, we should be live on YouTube. I'm just going to wait and see if there's any reaction here in the chat. Just make sure that everything's working, and then we're going to get right into it. There I am. I see myself. So we're good to go. All right, it is January 22nd. It's Thursday, 2026, and we are on the verge of experiencing one of the biggest and most impactful winter storms of the last several years. And we figured we'd go live today for a short period of time to talk about that, answer questions, and all that kind of stuff. And then tomorrow, the actual coverage of the event will likely begin later in the day. And Saturday, of course, will be plumb wild, as well as Sunday. But this is kind of like the calm before the storm. And we're going to use this to our advantage to, just answer a bunch of questions and produce a bunch of content. I'm actually going to, since we're already here together, and since I'm already looking over the data, and since meteorologist Andy Hill's already here with us and all that stuff, we're going to make a video. We might even make a TikTok live on the air, so you guys can see the process of, building that out and all that stuff. And you'll be able to see what I'm saying. So you don't even have to watch the video, really. If you don't want to, you can just watch me make it. But of course, there's a lot of people who just want that 10-minute long piece of information. So we're going to go ahead and make that for them and put it out there. And then I'll have a lot of time to look at the chat and to interact with you guys and answer questions. And of course, thanks to our wonderful partner, WeatherWise, we've got this cool system where you can actually share your location with me. And I think that's actually going to be really cool today to try to do quick rapid fire forecasts, right? So we can pull up the NBM model, we can pull up the latest, Euro model or whatever it is, and kind of let you see where you are, given your location. And there's just a bunch of cool stuff that we can do. So if you are new here, if you've been living under a rock and you don't know what's going on, we have got ourselves a big time winter storm on the way. I'm going to load up the GFS here real quick and just have this looping in the background. Actually, should I do the GFS? Yeah, might as well. But we have a major winter storm on the way, and it's going to impact 160 plus million people across the United States. It's going to be 2,000 miles wide at its peak Saturday into Sunday, and it's going to come along with a significant ice situation. The models, as more and more data comes in, it becomes more and more clear that the biggest and most unfortunate part about this storm, the headline, I guess you could say, is going to be the damaging ice storm that takes place from Texas up through Tennessee. That includes a big chunk of Arkansas and Mississippi. And then there's also another area that is going to be impacted over there towards North Carolina and South Carolina and Georgia as well. All right, so it looks like sharing locations is working. I don't know if the WeatherWise app is showing that I'm live yet. Let me check on that, because that's something that has been not working. Does it show that I'm live, y'all, in the thing? Go to y'all mode. Share your location with y'all. It still says y'all bot. Interesting. We'll give it, you can share your location with y'all bot. It also goes to me. That should flip over to live on the back end here in a minute. Yeah, give it at least 5 minutes, because I swear it's fixed, and that should flip over. I don't know why it's not automatic, but anyways, once again, if you're just now tuning in, we are going to go over this winter storm here. We're going to answer a bunch of questions. How are you guys doing, chat? How are we doing? Is everybody still freaking out? I swear every time I go and I talk to people, it feels like everybody's freaking out. There's no need to freak out. Okay? Gosh. Trying to get this to loop. But yeah, this is, by the way, I'm looking at the latest, I believe, run of the GFS, which actually trended a little bit south. GFS has been an anomalously hard to trust model lately. But man, I really like it because this one kind of buries me with snow. If you guys don't know, I am a huge fan of snow. Personally, I actually really like snow. I know a lot of you guys don't. And I often root for it for my backyard. And we've got this daggone warm nose here that is just a huge pain in my butt. And the GFS is the one that is the least, I guess, bullish with the warm air in it. It's showing like a foot of snow for my neck of the woods. This would be a crazy storm for like Lexington, Kentucky. This would bring more snow to all of Kentucky, really. And it also looks like it's a pretty big winter for, this is a huge one for Washington, D.C. to New York to Boston. So, you know, if you are a wish caster, if you're a weather weenie, the GFS is probably your model of choice. However, I just have to be honest with you. It doesn't seem like it is of the best skill as of recent. But maybe, you know, this storm will be different. Maybe this is the one. Maybe this is the one where the GFS wins. Who's with me? Who's team GFS? Because the European model, which I will show you here shortly, doesn't have the same, it's not the same. Okay, yeah, we're live now. It says we're live. Did y'all just go down? All right, so if you're just now tuning in, we're going to go over the forecast here. Where's everybody from in chat? You can put it in chat, and you can also share your location with me on WeatherWise. I'm going to very quickly share that WeatherWise tutorial before we get started here. Y'all about went black reload? Yeah, try reloading it. It's unfortunate. It's worked like for 800 hours, and specifically when I decided to go live, it's going to stop working. Yeah, give it a reload and let me know if nothing happens there. But what you're seeing here is a tutorial on how to share your location with me. If you want to put your dot on the map while we do the forecast, you can do that over on WeatherWise. WeatherWise app. It's a free app, iOS, Android. It's a great radar app, and you can download it by scanning that QR code right there. And then you're going to go to y'all mode, share your location with Ryan, and it's free. You can do it for free, but if you want to have like a custom dot, then that's a plus feature, but that's not necessary. I think that there's a good chance that we'll be able to break our record of the amount of people that are checking in during this stream, or one of the streams over the next couple of days. All right, now let's get ready for the video. Let me just make sure that this works. Oh yeah. This looks like one of my videos, doesn't it? So I'm literally just going to record it from here, and we'll have ourselves a good time. Let me go try to fix Y'allbot real quick, I guess. Hold on. That's annoying. I won't be able to until I end this stream. That's all right. Hey, who needs Y'allbot while I'm live? As long as I fix it right after I go off the air, we should be good. By the way, what you're looking at behind me here is the winter storm outlook for Saturday. Saturday, 7 a.m. Saturday to Sunday, 7 a.m. And what you're looking at is essentially the areas where you want to avoid travel. So I know that we're expecting some decent snow from St. Louis to Cincinnati to Pittsburgh, but the travel implications, the actual impact on everyday life is going to be much more significant for the people that are experiencing this ice storm. And that's not to say it won't be significant for you. A little bit farther to the north. In fact, when the new version of this comes out, there probably will be a moderate or enhanced risk that also includes Cincinnati and Pittsburgh. And then, of course, if we go to the day 4 outlook, you can see a large portion of the Northeast included in that higher probability as well. Hello. Thank you so much for the very generous super chat, Mr. Fire. Calling. Y'all bot's calling. Hello, y'all bot. What's up?
Hey, Ryan. Heads up. The NWS just slapped a dangerous tag on that snow squall warning for Buffalo and Rochester. Visibility's dropping under a quarter mile on I-90 and I-390. Plus, we've got a fresh snow squall warning in Maine. Kennebec and Oxford counties hitting I-95. Ground truth from Sanborn, New York, shows a quick drop to a quarter mile visibility and gusts around 40 miles per hour.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that. We actually are going to check in on some real-time stuff here, but the majority of this stream, y'all bot, we're going to be talking about the future, the forecast for the future, okay? Do you got any words of wisdom for me before I get into this?
Sure thing. Keep an eye on that cold front in Texas stalling out. It's going to set up some messy ice soon. Also, the Team GFS versus Team Euro model war is heating up, so maybe weigh in on that fun debate.
All right, thank you, y'all bot. I thought that was actually Andy calling me. He'll be calling me within the next couple of minutes, and we're going to go through the setting up the video together. Oh my goodness, there's already about 2,000 of you sharing your locations with me right now. So this is why this is going to be cool. I'm going to give you a sneak peek as to what we're going to do. If I can find the thing. Yeah, let's go over to the National Blend of Models, snow accumulation. And everybody always gets mad whenever I, overlook their location or whatever they think is happening. But I'm not going to be able to overlook your location if your dot's on the map. Oh, yeah. Here's the latest National Blend of Models. Let me pull this back a little bit. Okay, yeah, that's good. So what I can do is I can come over here and be like, all right, there's a lot of people right here that are watching, so we should definitely talk about how much snow is going to be possible here, right? So if you live over here and you're like, I'm not putting my dot on that daggone map, well, then I ain't telling you about the snow. Lots of people watching in Louisville and Lexington. Lots of people watching up here around Cincinnati. Not very many people watching in the Northeast. You guys are about to get plumb smacked. And we don't have nearly as much energy over here. We've really got to get our Northeast numbers up. Big time. If you know anybody in the Northeast, let them know that it's going to snow. I think they might not even know. All right, so before we get into this, I'm going to make my video. All right, and so Andy, go ahead and call me whenever you're ready, and let's start talking about this. So, meteorologist Andy Hill's calling.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, what's up, Andy?
Hey. Hope
All right.
Everybody's doing well.
Yeah, so this is something that we do every day, almost. This is our first time doing it live, I guess. But this is also different in the sense that I think that I'm just going to pull up a map and start talking. I think that it's time that we just start talking about totals and locations and stuff like that. But where do you think I should start? Do you think we should start with the ice threat or the snow, or is there anything big that you think that we should focus on?
I think that the number one thing is the newest info of places that haven't been totally covered yet. Like something I've noticed is that we talked a lot about Oklahoma and the Dallas-Fort Worth metro as the storm starts on Friday, right? But if you look at a lot of the latest maps, especially the NBM, you see a lot of Kansas, even up to Kansas City, is seeing 8+ inches of snow with that dynamics liquid to snow ratio. So we could make sure that we, are including everyone in this in the northern extent of the system itself, and also just the fact that the overall system is slightly slower than it was previously modeled to be. So that's why we see a lot more of these locations to the north included as we go through the whole thing. So yeah, I would start with what's new on Friday, or what's the biggest standout feature compared to previous model cycles, since we've kind of locked ourselves into the video format being like, we know where this goes now, fresh data and new info.
All right, let me tell you this. Like, obviously, my goal is to keep the video brief. I want to put as much info in there as possible, but the goal is to keep it brief. So I'm going to have to pick a model that carries the story. Like, what model should be my main for this video, do you think?
It's the NBM, National Blend of Models.
All right, what if I want to show like low pressure placement and precip type over time? Like if I want to show like Euro or GFS, essentially, what do you think?
You could do both.
Do both?
Yeah, I mean, if you're going through one of them, at this point, they should be fairly similar, right? That's what we would hope. But yeah, you can just show both and talk about it, and just have a little blurb, 2-second blurb in there if something is particularly different between the two. Because the more we show and the more we kind of average out what we're talking about with all the model data, the more skillful our forecast is.
All right. Let's see here. And I think that we're both pretty much aligned on just sticking with the NBM for the ice totals.
Yes.
Okay, what about this? I know there's a lot of different places I could pull this information from, but talking about the temperatures after the ice is over. I've been using the GFS a lot. I know that that's a little bit overdone with the coldness that it's projecting, because it's so much different than all the other ones. Would you recommend the NBM there as well?
Yeah, temperature, the NBM is like sort of a weighted average of models. So if literally like the software devs for the models know that the GFS has a colder bias in certain circumstances, then that's actually going to be weighted into the temperature product of the NBM. And that's what makes it pretty cool for these, I would say. Now, one thing I would note is that if you're looking at apparent temperature versus real temperature using NBM, I would say that NBM's wind output is probably going to be on the low end, and thus the apparent temperature may be slightly colder, and you could adjust your numbers, by a couple degrees Fahrenheit to account for that in certain places.
That sounds good. What about so I'm going to do the video. I probably will do another short form video as well, because there's a bunch of people that are really into that. I've done like 8 in a row now where we set up the story, and it's like, oh, a big storm's coming. Get ready. Do you think that we should maybe try to cover one aspect of the story in this short form video? Maybe talk about specifically the ice, and that's all we talk about in a short, or specifically the snow. You got any input there?
I think if you're going to do a short that particularly talks about the ice, that would be a very strong one. First of all, the ice is definitely something that I would go to. What should be a part of that, and what would make it like complete in my eyes and worth doing, as you said, would be a timeline. So when is the last time that northern Mississippi and Monroe, Louisiana, have had a half an inch of ice or 3/4 of an inch of ice, all the way through Tupelo, like into southern Tennessee? When's the last time they've seen an ice storm like that? And you can get that data pretty easily. I know you can find the last ice storm there of that caliber. So when you get that data and you're like, oh, 50 years ago or whatever it is, I'm not familiar with what that data is, but when you get that, you're like, this is going to be the biggest ice storm in 50 years. Bang, right? And then the second part of the ice would be the really unique cold air damming setup that we have that goes into northeast Georgia, through upstate South Carolina, and then across some of the Piedmont of North Carolina into Richmond, Virginia. That is a really, really interesting setup to me, especially because of how long the precip type remains freezing rain as we go throughout this entire system, just because of the cold air that's in place in that region. So I think those two things together make for a really strong ice short yes.
All right. Well, I'm going to start. I think I'm going to get started. I've got my eyes on the Discord, and you can call me back if anything else comes up.
All right. One more thing. Congrats on 3 million subs.
Thank you. Yeah, guys. Thank you for getting us to 3 million subs. I don't think I've talked about it in anything yet. This is the first time talking about it, but we've crossed over 3 million subscribers on the channel, 2 million on TikTok, almost 1 million on Facebook. So the support has been awesome. Seriously. Thank y'all. All right, Andy, I'm going to get to work, and we'll call you back, or you can call me back here soon, okay? All right. So that's meteorologist Andy Hill, and had some great input there. Speaking of, his suggestion to do a timeline, the info that I've got here is that Tupelo, Mississippi, the last time they saw half an inch of ice was February of 1994. Now, I see there's at least 3 or 4 of you watching that are sharing your locations right now in the WeatherWise app in Tupelo. I see you right here. Is that right? Can you guys fact check me on that? 1994. So I think that it would be safe to say that, honestly, this area might get a little bit more ice than that. It might be safe to say that this is the worst ice storm that this area has seen since 1994. And that was a devastating ice storm. I think the accumulations reached up to 3/4 of an inch in some areas, far beyond the typical ice storm. And by the way, I want to mention that, when we're talking today about these ice totals, and we are saying stuff like, a half inch, 3/4 of an inch, or whatever, that's crazy. That's not normal. What the heck? Y'all bot's calling me again. What's up, y'all bot? Hello, y'all bot. Oh, did it just hang up? Okay. Anyways, so this is not your average ice storm. An inch of ice is crazy. If anybody actually ends up with an inch of ice at the end of this storm, it's something that we will remember. It's something that I will remember for the rest of my life. And if you are somebody that lives in that area, it's something that you will remember for the rest of your life. Even if it's just a half inch of ice, you will remember that for a long time. That's a big problem. Half inch of ice accretion. So this could be the worst ice storm in several decades for a lot of these areas. And my goodness, Tennessee's lighting up like a Christmas tree here. How many people in Nashville do we have watching right now? A bunch. Clarksville, Tennessee, I see you. And yes, we will be talking a lot about Clarksville, Tennessee today. A lot. There's currently 3,000 of you sharing your location with me right now. And once again, we're going to go point by point right here in a moment. But first, I'm going to actually, I've got to set up all the scenes and stuff here. This is the first time I've done this like this. All right, let's go over to this map. We'll start off over here. How about this, chat? Let's get your input on this too. What is your favorite part of my videos? And it can't be when you talk about my town, because of course. But what do you guys think is the most valuable part of the videos? Is it when I show the snow total? Is it when I show the future radar? Is it when I show the outlooks? What do you guys think? The intro? Really? So do you guys like the intro when it's like you can get a good idea of what the whole video is going to be about in like the first 30 seconds. Oh, is the date wrong? Oh, the date's wrong. Yeah. There you go. I fixed it. So the intro is, I don't know. Part of me, I'm conflicted. I don't know if it's cool to be like, in this video, we're talking about this, this, and this, blah, 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 blah. Or if it's better to just skip that part and start talking about this, this, and this. Both of them have positives and negatives. The positives of doing the intro is like, if the first thing that I talk about isn't something that you're interested in the intro, I could at least tease that it's coming up later, right? The first one? The first one. All right, well, so let's write a good intro then. Let's write a good intro. All right, of course, it's January 22nd, 2026. And we've got I think a good hook is we've got a 2,000 mile storm, a 2,000 mile wide storm on the way. The ice is the main story for the South. And for the South and Mid-Atlantic. All right, so it's Thursday, January 22nd, 2026, and we are tracking what is shaping up to be the most significant winter storm in over a decade for a huge swath of this country. Nailed it. Nailed it. I think that's good. From Texas to parts of... hold on, I'm actually like typing this out. From Texas to parts of New England, we're looking at a crippling ice storm. Oh, I'm not recording yet. I'm going to give Luke a good, solid video to edit. We're looking at a crippling ice storm. We're going to have heavy snow. You know what? I think I'm just going to wing it. I want, like, the reason I don't like doing the intros is because I feel like I overthink it. I feel like I overthink it. I like just getting right into it. You know what I'm saying? We'll do it live. We will do it live. Oh, man. The green screen is behind me. Oh, you know what I'm going to do? Luke, you've got my permission. Put the graphics behind me during the intro. Let me turn the filters off. Okay, so Luke, now you can just chroma key whatever you want behind me for the intro. All right? Okay, here we go. It's Thursday, January 22nd, 26. It's Thursday, January 22nd, 2026, and we've got potentially the biggest winter storm in over a decade on the way. So let's get right into talking about that. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Okay, well now I got to turn the green screen back on. Yeah, Luke is actually going to hate editing this. Nailed it. Okay, so should I start? Okay, let me ask you guys this. Should I start with the outlooks and be like, okay, today or tomorrow, this is going to be the area that gets hit. And then the next day, this is the area that's going to get hit. And then the next day, this is the area that's going to get hit. And then do the future radar? Or just get straight into like the future radar? What y'all think? Everybody's just saying yes. There's two options. Or do A, B, A, B. So outlook, then future radar. Outlook, then future radar. That's revolutionary, I think, right? That was an Andy Hill special. That was an Andy Hill idea. I like that one, actually. We're doing that. All right, so we're going to start with day 2. Okay, here we go. Starting off with our winter storms outlook here for Friday into Saturday. This is going to be where everything starts. It's really going to start blowing up over here from Oklahoma City down to Dallas. You can see we've got an enhanced risk of significant winter weather out here right in the Red River Valley. Places like Lawton, Plano, Ada, and the Choctaw Nation area of southeast Oklahoma is included in this. It's not just there that's going to get hit by ice and snow. It's here where we think the most significant impacts will be specifically tomorrow. And of course, this is going to expand and move east as we go forward, but we're going to take this one day at a time. So, yeah, I think from there we can go right into the future radar. And I'm going to use the Euro, I think, as the main driver here. Look right. Is this what it looks like in the videos? I just said all this stuff. I reset it up. Okay. All right, here we go. Okay, so let's take a look at the European model. We're going to take a look at a couple different ones during this video, but you guys know I like the Euro. I like how it's been handling the storm. This is what it could look like out there Saturday, January 24th at 4 a.m. We are going to see a significant area of icing here in that enhanced risk area. And notice how I said Saturday. The outlook time period covers 24 hours from 7 a.m. Friday to 7 a.m. Saturday. So here we are at 4 a.m. That's still in that day 2 outlook, theoretically. And that's why this area has been highlighted in the enhanced risk. We're going to be seeing heavy snow, potentially moderate to heavy snow from Oklahoma City all the way over to Tulsa, up to Wichita, Kansas. But watch how fast everything just blows up. This storm very quickly goes from being a pipsqueak little blip on the radar to a massive storm of the likes I haven't seen in a very, very long time. This is now a Saturday at 7 p.m., so we're moving into that day 3 outlook, but you can see very clearly here that we're still going to be seeing ice and snow in Oklahoma and Texas and Kansas at this time, even though the heaviest precipitation has moved east. Oh boy, who's calling me? Hold on. Y'all bot. Y'all bot. And it's not even working. Y'all bot. What's up?
Hey Ryan, I don't know if you had a fancy, polished intro planned, but the chat is staging a full-on we've got a mutiny in the chat. Over 68 folks yelling to wing it. No intro. Plus live whiteout reports in Michigan lining up with that blizzard warning. And someone's confused why Ohio's all blue on your map. Might need a quick color key rundown.
Thank you, y'all bot. I was just in the middle of making a video, but I actually do appreciate you. Thank you. You know what's funny? You know what's actually funny? I don't have an off button. So I can't turn it off. Like, Y'allbot can just call me whenever Y'allbot wants. There's nothing I can do about it. Unless I literally go unplug the main computer. All right, let's go. Let's get back into the thing that we're doing. So precipitation really starts late tomorrow afternoon and evening, and it picks up significantly over here during the early morning hours on Saturday. And I think we're going to see the most intense impacts, I guess, in Oklahoma City, Tulsa, and Dallas, for example, probably after that 7 a.m. time period, especially 10 a.m. to maybe 5 p.m. And then things are going to increase in intensity again on Saturday night into Sunday morning. So it's really kind of like a 1-2 punch over here on the western side of this thing, where it starts off pretty intense, but the most intense part of the storm might actually not happen until late Saturday into Sunday. Now, all messed up. And now that takes us into this. Yeah. And that takes us into our day 3 winter storms outlook, where we have a huge moderate risk of significant winter weather impacts. I want to be very clear that this is likely going to get expanded up to the north a little bit when the next version of this comes out. But the reason the southern side of the storm is highlighted so significantly is because of the ice. Snow is bad, and snow can cause a lot of problems on the roads. But ice at the level that we're expecting it, in the places where we are expecting it, is unprecedented. So that's obviously going to take precedent on an outlook like this. We've got a moderate risk from Dallas, Oklahoma City, Little Rock, Memphis, all the way over to Nashville, up to Louisville, Kentucky on Saturday from 7 a.m. all the way to Sunday at 7 a.m. And then we've also got a little moderate risk over here around Washington, D.C., down to Richmond. And this one's mostly going to be for snow. That first big punch of snow that comes in is going to be really intense over here, and that might lead to some pretty bad conditions on the roads. So Saturday morning between 7 and 10 a.m., that's when you're going to start to see precipitation breaking out in Memphis. It's going to start off as snow and then quickly change over to sleet and freezing rain. And I do believe that it is on Saturday where we will have a pretty devastating icing setup take place from Dallas all the way up through Arkansas into Memphis and Nashville. This corridor right here has the potential to see several hours of training freezing rain. And we're going to go over ice totals here in a moment, but it really looks like it's going to be a serious situation unfolding for a lot of people here. And up north of that, that's where we're going to have the heaviest snow. It looks like St. Louis could see a lot of moderate to heavy snow for an extended period of time here. Indianapolis, you guys are in the running for a decent amount of snow, but especially Louisville, Kentucky, Cincinnati. I think that you guys are going to be a shoe-in for some significant snow on Saturday as well. Now, as we go into Sunday, you can see that other area of significant icing setting up where we have cold air damming taking place east of the Appalachian Mountains. And this is going to be our secondary area where I think we're going to have more than a half inch of ice in a large zone, and it's going to lead to a lot of power outages. But notice what happens north of that: heavy snow in the mid-Atlantic. We're talking about a really intense push of moderate moderate to heavy snow in the Washington, D.C. area early in the morning on Sunday, and moving up into New Jersey, Pennsylvania, New York City. It does look like there could be a little bit of a warm nose, especially in D.C. So from Richmond up to Washington, D.C., this is going to start off as really heavy snow, but it's possible that that transitions over to sleet and a period of freezing rain and then goes back to snow. But as of right now, it looks like Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, maybe even New York City, especially up there towards Connecticut and Rhode Island and Massachusetts and upstate New York. This is going to be all snow for the duration of the event. And if that's the case, if this current run of the European model here is correct, this is going to be a really big-time storm for Boston, one of the bigger ones we've seen in a while for Connecticut, northern New Jersey. That's definitely going to be quite the storm over there. I've never done this A-B thing, so I think I'm just messing it up, but we'll make it work. We will make it work. All right, let's go over to day 4. And that's why we have such a large 15 to 30% probability for significant winter weather over here in the Northeast from Sunday into Monday. If there was a higher level than that, for example, if there was a 50% probability area, that would definitely be lighting up right in here. But there isn't. There's just 2 levels here. We're basing this off of the Storm Prediction Center's probability for days 4 through 8. So we're trying to mirror that logic. But still, you can see very clearly who's going to get hit on Sunday into Monday. All right, now what? I think we've got a solid video so far, guys. But we ain't done yet. We're not done yet. You know what? Let's just do the GFS really quick because I think that'll be interesting. All right, so let's very quickly go through this again. There's your cold rain starting in Dallas, snow in Oklahoma City, 7 a.m. Saturday. What happens next? Boom, heavy icing going on in Nashville by 7 p.m. on Saturday. All snow, heavy snow in Cincinnati, Louisville, and Lexington, Kentucky by 1 a.m. on Sunday. Columbus, Ohio gets in on the heaviest snow, potentially around 7 a.m. on Sunday. We're getting hit very hard in Washington, D.C. and New York City by 1 p.m. on Sunday. And then this thing is going to be hitting New England like crazy with that coastal low at 1 a.m. on Monday. And then this thing gets out of our hair by the evening on Monday. So we're done with this after that. And that's the Euro. Let's go ahead and take a look at the GFS. So the latest run of the GFS is very similar, but somewhat different. You can already see a big difference, probably, if you're paying attention here. What's this big yellow blob? Well, that's sleet, okay? The European model and pretty much every other suite of models is very much favoring a more freezing rain type event, but for whatever reason, the GFS family of models is suggesting that we're going to have a lot more sleet than freezing rain. Now, 6 inches or more of sleet, which, by the way, is some of the numbers that we're getting out of this model, is problematic. And that's going to cause a ton of problems on the roads. I mean, it would be pretty bad. But it's not quite as bad as an inch of ice. So we're rooting for the sleet. But I do think that based off of everything that I have seen, looking at the warm nose and the warm layer of air that's going to be above the shallow layer of cold air at the surface, I think that there's going to be a little bit more freezing rain than what's being shown here on the GFS. But regardless of that, the other big thing... Are you kidding? Oh, hold on. Howdy, y'all bot.
Ryan, Hey, Ryan, howdy. We've got a dangerous situation developing with that Rochester squall line. New priority 6.4 warning out for Genesee and Monroe counties. We're seeing 35-mile-per-hour gusts, near zero visibility, and it's hitting I-90 right now. Also, we've got urgent safety concerns in the chat. Someone asking about driving to Gatlinburg and a viewer living in their car near Knoxville. Let's break it all down.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Yalbot. So there, by the way, there is like severe winter weather happening right now. That's why Yalbot's calling those snow squall warnings. And we'll answer a bunch of questions from the chat after I do the video, I promise. All right, now where was we? Daggone it. Okay, yeah. So another big difference that you're probably noticing here is that there's a little bit of a more southern aspect to the GFS. It's a little colder. It's a little bit more south with the heaviest snow and the placement of the ice. It turns out that the National Weather Service and a lot of other official sources are kind of leaning towards that. So we are definitely taking into account all the models here. So keep that in mind. We're still seeing some discrepancy, but we are getting closer to having everything be in agreement. But check this out, 4 p.m. on Sunday, January 25th, we have a very intense storm going on, dropping heavy snow from Little Rock all the way up to Cincinnati, Indianapolis, Columbus, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, New York City. We're all getting in on heavy snow here. And then, of course, we have a sleet storm and a half and a freezing rainstorm happening from Georgia, South Carolina, up into North Carolina and Virginia. And this one actually keeps, the entire, not only New York City, but all of Long Island in the all snow situation all the way through Monday. So the GFS likely puts down a lot more snow than the Euro, but we're not going to look at that. We are going to look at the national blend of models. Okay, so I think I'm going to do the snow first. I don't know. Are we doing an ad? We're doing a sponsor in this video, right? Okay, well then we should do the ice first. Get the important stuff out there first. Let's see. I don't know. Is it already added to the card or not? If Dalton hasn't added it to the card, then I'm going to pretend like I didn't see it. That way we can talk about snow first. Yeah, no ad in this video. Let's just have fun. Unfortunately, we do have to address, but like I want to talk about snow real quick. Okay, let's see. Let's flip over to the NBM. Oh, by the way, chat, how am I doing? You think this is going to be a good video? Oh my goodness, there's 60,000 people watching the filming of the video right now. That's awesome. We should just go live filming every time we film. That's going to be the future of the thing. It's like we're just going to go live every day and just cut a bunch of clips, and that'll be our short form content. Not a bad idea, honestly. I've just got to figure out how to make that work. Okay, let's do this. All right. Okay, so we're going to talk. Am I on the right scene? Yeah. So let's talk about snow totals. This is what everybody's been waiting for. We're going to talk about this first and then ice. So this is going to be pretty close to what you actually get. All right, we're getting close enough to where there's still some model discrepancy, but I mean, we're getting there. We're getting there. I think that by the end of this storm in Oklahoma City, it's very reasonable that there are many of you that will measure more than 11 inches of snow. 12 inches in Woodward, 13 inches in Wichita, maybe even close to a foot of snow up there towards Joplin. And then, Bentonville, you've been in the sweet spot this whole time. I don't know how you've managed it between every swing, north and south. Bentonville, I feel like I've been talking about you guys getting a foot of snow. So there you go. But the farther south we go, we get a little bit less. We're talking about 3 to 6 inches in Wichita Falls. We're talking about maybe 2 inches of snow in Dallas. And that is going to be covered in a bunch of sleet and freezing rain. And it's not going to feel like 2 inches of snow, unfortunately, in Dallas. Little Rock, similar story. You're in that transition zone. Going to be mostly sleet, and it's going to be mostly freezing rain, but there at some point might be 4 inches of snow on the ground. Just north of that, though, in Jonesboro, we're talking about 7 inches. How about you in St. Louis? Also 7 inches of snow is possible. Could be a little bit more than that. Could be a little bit less. I'm seeing a bullseye area from Evansville, Indiana to Lexington, Kentucky, up to Cincinnati. I think that this is definitely a place where we will see widespread totals over 10 inches. A foot of snow is possible here and there, especially up there towards Dayton, Columbus, and Wheeling. But unfortunately, your friendly weather dude down here in eastern Kentucky is probably going to be in a similar situation as Dallas and all these other places that are in that transition zone where we have a lot of sleet and freezing rain mixing in, cutting in on our snow totals. Maybe 4 inches of snow here in Pikeville, maybe 5 inches down there in Somerset. How about you in Knoxville? I don't think that you guys should be looking forward to much snow at all. I think that if anybody's going to see mostly rain out of this, it's going to be y'all. Same thing in Chattanooga. There will be some snow, there will be some ice, but you guys are going to get warm-nosed like crazy. Nashville, totals are even lower now, according to the NBM. But remember, the last couple of model runs that we just looked at from the Euro and the GFS shifted south a little bit. And the interesting thing about the NBM, the National Blend of Models, is it's a little lagged behind because it's not ingested the most recent model runs yet. So I'm trying my best to hold on to hope for you guys in central or middle Tennessee. But I do want you to be prepared for the very real possibility that we see less snow in Nashville. Still looking like maybe 5 inches in Clarksville, maybe 8 in Bowling Green, maybe 3 in Memphis. All right, let's keep moving east. Richmond, you're right on that transition line. Unfortunately, it looks like maybe 3 to 6 inches of snow, but there will be some sleet and freezing rain mixing in. Washington, Philadelphia, New York City, Boston. This is where it gets really interesting, and this is where it's going to be really hard to kind of tell the fine details. We're farthest away from this, right? So this is starting tomorrow in Oklahoma, but it'll be a little bit longer than that before it happens over here on the East Coast. So there's more time for changes to happen. But right now, this looks like one of the more incredible snowstorms that we've had in the I-95 corridor for a while. The NBM is showing 15 inches in Washington and Baltimore. Trenton, New Jersey, Philadelphia, 19 inches, 20 inches in New York City. This is probably... my gut is telling me that this is probably overdone, and it's not accounting for all the warm air that we just saw in some of the model runs. But hey, this is the National Blend of Models. This is theoretically a conservative forecast. Scranton 17, Boston 22. I think it's safe to say that there will be a large corridor of 12 to 18 inches of snow over here, but I do want to caution you, let you know that it could nudge just enough inland to where Boston, New York City, Philadelphia, and Baltimore get less. But as of right now, it looks like you're definitely in the running for a significant amount of snow. Did I get everybody? I got the big regions. The one thing that every time I read the comments on our videos, there's always somebody mad. about like, well, you didn't even mention Des Moines. And that's why we put Des Moines on the map. So you can see it right there. If I tried to do every city, nobody would watch. It would get really boring really fast. We've got a nice key down here. By the way, Luke, this doesn't go in the video. I'm talking to chat. Right? We got a nice key down here. We've got a map. If you know what your state looks like and you know where you live inside of your state, you've got all the information you need right now. Honestly, I could just like go off screen. And like you're getting the same value as if when I am here. As long as you know where you live. Like I said, how do you do that? All right, so we're gonna. I think the snow part has to be done. We can't. The goal is to make this video less than 15 minutes, and Luke is already sweating right now, thinking about like, how am I going to make this less than 15? Am I going to be able to cut this video before midnight? That's what Luke's thinking right now. All right, let's talk about ice. And for this, we're going to do the NBM. Unfortunately, I don't have the NBM on my cool y'all software just yet. The ice anyways. But we've got Weather Bell. And this will do. This will do. And there's not a good region. This works, maybe. Does this work? It cuts off a lot of Texas, but that's even better. Move my head. Oh, this will be the first video where I'm on a green screen. That'll be interesting. And honestly, I kind of like it. Maybe we use green screen more often. I mean, this is the best I can do. This is the best I can do. It's YouTube, guys. It's YouTube weather. This ain't no big budget show. All right, now I gotta get serious here. Hold on. Rippling ice storm. Gotta make sure people know we ain't playing around. Yeah, it's a potentially catastrophic ice storm. Taking aim at the south starting Friday. Okay, now let's dive into the not so fun part. We have a potentially devastating, catastrophic ice storm taking aim at parts of the deep south and mid-Atlantic regions as we go from Friday through Sunday, and we're going to kind of nail down some totals here and tell you what you should be doing to prepare. Luke, I'm trying. Yeah, I think I'm just going to start rattling off totals because in every video I've talked about, oh, well, you got the warm air, you got the rain, and then it hits the ground and it freezes. I think people know you guys know what freezing rain is now, right? I'm just going to be like, boom, boom, boom. Okay. Okay, so if you're anywhere in any of the pink shaded areas, you need to be prepared for power outages and dangerous travel. But specifically, if you are in some of the darker shaded areas, that's where you need to be really concerned about some big time impacts. I'm talking about northeast Louisiana up into south central or southern middle Tennessee and a lot of Mississippi. This is where it's very likely that we see over 3/4 of an inch of ice. That is more ice than we have seen in this area. Is that the right way to put it? If this is correct, this will be the worst ice storm this area has seen since 1994. And if you live down here, you remember 1994, it was bad. This could be worse. Because not only do we have a crippling amount of ice coming down, the temperatures that come in behind it are going to be unrelenting. We're talking about temperatures near zero for an extended period of time. And if we lose power, if we lose heat, some of these areas, some of the houses don't even have heating. But if we lose power, we've got all this ice and it stays below freezing for a significant period of time, which is possible. We're talking about a big, bad problem down here. And even back here towards Dallas, we're looking at maybe over a third of an inch of ice. That's going to cause problems on the roads. It's not going to cause as much problems, but it will cause problems. And I actually think that the NBM model here is underdoing the total ice in this corridor because we're going to have, you know what? I think I'm just going to have to. All right, let's see what y'all bought wants. Maybe it's important, actually. Luke is sweating. What's up, y'all bought? Hello, y'all. This area could actually see more ice than what's being projected here. I would not be surprised if a couple areas got 1 inch of total ice accumulation, which is, take this seriously. It's going to be bad up north where it snows as far as the roads go, but this is where the headlines will be from this storm. Oh, are we lagging? Daggone, dude. Y'all, I think it might be trying to sabotage the stream because we've got nothing wrong with our internet. I didn't drop a single frame. So that's either a YouTube bug or Y'allbot is getting fed up with me being fed up with Y'allbot. Doing something weird in the back end. Okay, anyways, let's finish this video. Daggone. Now, another area that we've been talking about being concerned with is over here from Georgia, South Carolina into North Carolina and Virginia. I also think that the NBM is underdoing totals over here. There will be a few areas that get well over a ½ inch of ice, maybe up to 3/4 of an inch of ice, especially in the higher elevations and maybe even in the valleys where we had that cold air damming happening. Even though we're going to have a warmer area of air aloft moving over this zone, which will be bringing rain to areas west of the Appalachian Mountains. That's only going to intensify the conditions that are there for freezing rain east of the Appalachian Mountains because we have so much cold air dammed up over here. It's just going to be an unfortunate situation. So I know that Texas and North Carolina have already declared states of emergencies. This is another area where if you're not prepared now, it's almost too late. But you should definitely take preparations to be without power for at least 5 days. Not everybody's going to be without power for 5 days. I'm not saying that, but you could be one of them that is. So start preparing now. All right. What now? Yeah, this is getting too long. We got to wrap it up. To CPC Outlook. Yeah, Luke, this is, I don't know what it is about filming it this way, but it's definitely taken me longer. We're at 35 minutes of raw footage here. Normally it's like 15, 18 max. And after this historic ice storm and snowstorm is over, we're not actually going to be able to forget about it because it's going to leave some incredibly cold temperatures in its wake. We're going to be well below average everywhere east of the Rocky Mountains for a significant period of time after this storm goes by. And this actually sets the stage for more winter storms. So I don't want to get too deep into it. This will be for a future video, but there's already really good signals for more storms with snow and ice on the East Coast involving potentially the South, Mid-Atlantic, Ohio Valley, and Northeast after this one. So we are going to be locked into a pretty significant and unfortunate winter pattern for the foreseeable future here. So make sure you like this video and you turn notifications on because we're going to have lots more updates as we go forward. And I will see you in the next one. Goodbye. Is that it? Think that's good? I think we just got to give it to Luke and let Luke do his magic. If it's not good, it's on Luke. Oh my God. I almost hit stop streaming instead of stop recording. Oops. All right, Luke, I'm uploading it. That was fun. I actually think that you guys made the video better too. Being able to stop and be like, hey, by the way, the people who like watch the videos, what do you think I should do? Revolutionary. Okay. It went to a different directory. No big deal. No big deal. We can make this work. Oh, that would be really unfortunate if I did all that and it wasn't even recording. Oh, Andy's calling. What's up?
Hi, Ryan. Congrats on the video being 40 minutes long. You kind of sound like me at that point. That's how long mine took. I was here just to calm you down, and now we can chat about all the stuff that you didn't have to put in the video. So whatever hits your mind first, we can just have an open dialogue. And also to keep everyone around, because I'm pretty sure 15,000 people just left when you said goodbye. Whoop, because they thought it was over.
Yeah, so we're gonna stick around. We're gonna stay live. We might even, if we can come up with something, we might record a vertical video too. It also depends on how quickly Luke can edit this and if he's down to do another one. All right, I am officially uploading this. This is, for some reason, harder to do normally is. Give me just a second. You got anything, Andy? Anything that any comments?
Yeah, I wanted to talk about the stuff that is lost to probably the majority of people who are just now hearing about this storm, right? Like they're just now catching on. Mainstream media is going for it, and they're focusing on just when the storm is happening, right? I love talk about where it's coming from and all that stuff like that. That's the super coolest part to me is like, can we give people something to chew on, something to blame? Where does this come from? And what are we looking out for in that case? And my favorite thing is, and Ryan could just pull up models while I'm doing this too. At least I hope. I don't know how many things you have set on these scenes, but I like the 500 millibar map from anything Euro, GFS, whatever. And you can literally see the whole reason we have this huge freezing rain setup is that there's a trough or a low pressure system, essentially aloft, off the coast of California still. It's still over in California as of this afternoon. It's going to start making landfall, at least the center of it is making landfall. And then it's going to just bulldoze over and merge with this huge jet stream that we've got over primarily the Midwest and the Northeast right now. So that's really where everything comes from. And if you can show the 500 millibar map, I'm watching wherever you get that up. Can you do that, actually?
No.
No,
I'm sorry.
it's fine. It's fine. How do I visualize this for people? Okay, so California, it's right next to me, right up here. The trough is right up here, and it's basically the size of California. It's a shortwave trough, but it's a little bit larger than most things we call a shortwave, and it's going to come right over through Texas essentially, and then merge with a big jet stream in the northern plains, the Midwest, and across the Northeast. Just imagine there's a bunch of red and yellow up there for 120-mile-per-hour winds, right? When those two things come together, that is when you get this major snowstorm. But because of how far south this trough is, right here, it's basically right there on the map. That trough is swinging around air from the warm East Pacific. Just think about how warm the waters would be off of Baja California Sur, the southern tip of that. That's where we get our tropical storms and our hurricanes in the Eastern Pacific. That water is still somewhat warm, even this time of year. You're getting closer to the tropics. So you're going to have warm water down there. And this trough is bringing around all that warm air and launching it into Texas, into Oklahoma, into Arkansas, into Mississippi. And it's going to keep doing that. So those southwest winds along the trough are continuous for a long period of time, and it brings in warm air, particularly above the surface. First, it has to cross the mountains, which are mostly the Sierra Madre, right? So you have those in western Mexico, but the air is going to go over that, and that means the lowest chunk of that air is going to get cut off. It's not going to pass those mountains, but all the warm air that's being transported by this trough is above those mountains, and it keeps going into the states. So that's going to be continuous for a long period of time. And then we get our freezing rain set up in the southeast and the mid-Atlantic. The areas that are going to see freezing rain there are going to have that warm air reinforced by all of the warm air that comes off of the Gulf. So it's like this consistent southwest wind from where I am on the screen all the way through Mexico, all the way through the Gulf, is just constantly going
10 minutes
into
until
this
ACMOV
system.
18Z run.
And a lot of it gets chopped off at the surface because of that really, really intense high pressure system that's bringing down the Arctic air. But the warm air stays overrunning on top of it. So that's what we call overrunning. That's a big, and basically the number one reason why we get a freezing rain setup, overrunning. That's your magical word. We don't get to use it very often when we have over 1 million views on videos that are just covering the impacts, right? We don't get to talk about the science as much. But yeah, that's about what I wanted to talk about. That's what you can blame. You can blame the air coming from the southwest. You can blame whatever mysterious voice just played on the stream. I don't think that was me, but but that's what I wanted to get to. It's overrunning. That's the big thing.
And to anybody that heard that ominous voice that came through in minutes, that is, if you go to ryanhallyall.com/what's-next, there's a webpage that tells you when the next model runs. Like, I've got it pulled up and I've got sound notifications on, and it just let us know that in 10 minutes, the 18Z Euro is going to start running. So I didn't know that that's what that was at first, and it kind of freaked me out. But yeah, that's what that was.
It's silly too, because that run's almost done running. Actually, almost all of it's up on Pivotal. So that's what I was looking at for my speech there. That unfortunately no one's going to absorb now because 10 minutes came through.
Well, it happened at the end, and I think
okay.
It's letting us know that the maybe it's 10 minutes when it's finished.
Mm-hmm.
So that would make sense. Anyways, yeah. So what? Let me see. Trying to think of a good question for.
I have a question for you.
Okay.
Can they hear me if you switch to the scene with Weather Bell on it, or if my thing goes away as the audio source gone?
So they will be able to hear you, but they won't be able to see you.
Yeah. That's fine.
Okay. You want
my voice coming through? Yeah.
Did you want me to flip it over and pull something up?
No. I mean, you could do that again for the 500 trough, but it could be for anything else we have an open dialogue for.
Okay, yeah. Just let me know. Like with this view specifically, it's just precip type and snow totals. That's all I've got figured out.
I should have done that before I started ranting, but I did a lot with my arms there to
right.
get you to visualize it. So I'm just like,
All right, so let's do. Let's turn the locations back on, and we'll kind of focus on where you guys are watching from. So if you're just now tuning in, we've got this cool feature with the WeatherWise app to where you see all these dots on this map. Those are real people. It's you guys sharing your location with me in the WeatherWise app. So you can download that app for free. I'm going to turn on this tutorial here. And you can download this, iOS or Android. And first of all, it's a great radar app, right? That's why you should download it. And then as a cherry on top, you can share your location with me. It's approximate. Only I get it. It's not public. You're not putting your location on a map for other people to see, other than like what they can see from my map. You've seen how vague that is. But anyways, it's your approximate location. We don't hold on to it for longer than 20 minutes. And the goal is just to kind of guide my attention. Like, where should I look next? You know what I'm saying? If we don't have anybody watching in Clarksville, Tennessee, then why would I zoom in on Clarksville, Tennessee? And if you're wondering, why does he always zoom in on Clarksville, Tennessee? It's because I know there's somebody watching. So put your location on the map, and it'll be a fun, good time. I think our record, the most people we've ever had sharing their locations at once is what was it, 8,000? And there's 50,000 people watching right now, so I think that we could break that quite easily. So go ahead and put your location on the map there. All you got to do is hit the menu button, go into y'all mode, and hit share your location with Ryan. Now, y'all mode is something. You're going to think that we're asking you for money, but we're not. Okay. Some people get confused. Some people stumble over this part. They get in there. Y'all mode specifically is a paid thing, and that gives you a bunch of other cool stuff. But if you just scroll past that and you hit share location with Ryan for free, you can put your location on the map. Now, if you want to decorate your location and send a message, that's a plus feature. We've got to support the developer somehow. This is an incredible app. Y'allbot's calling. I wonder what happens. Andy, I'm going to try answering Y'allbot, and if it hangs up on you, I'm sorry. I don't know if I can do both or what. Oh, wait. Yeah, here we go. Y'allbot, what's up? Oh, my gosh. And it hung up on me again. So, anyways. All right. How many people we got sharing now? All right. We're over 1,700 sharing their locations. Still right in here. This is like where you guys are. It doesn't matter what's happening. That's where everybody's watching from. Lots of people from Tennessee and Kentucky. Wow, it's going up fast. So yeah, put your location on there. And once again, another thing that I can do is I can actually zoom in and click on some of these and see your messages. So if you want to send a message, that is an optional thing. And we'll get into this right here in a second. I'm going to let this pile up a little bit. Let's wait until we got 3,000 dots on the map. Actually, we're going to cross over that in like 2 seconds. So let's wait until we've got 3,500 dots on the map, and then I'm going to go and we're going to go dot by dot talking about how much snow we're going to get. This is crazy. It's going up fast. So every dot that you see here is somebody sharing their location right now. And you can see it does correlate quite well with where the snow is going to fall. There is always a weird amount of people watching in Florida whenever we do these winter streams. But hey, like, you guys are welcome here. I'm not seeing enough people in Kansas. I mean, this is pretty rural Kansas and Oklahoma over here, so there's not very many people there anyways. But, I mean, that's definitely a gap. And it looks like we've actually got some people tuning in from the Northeast. Nice. All right, so we're getting ready to cross over 4,000 people sharing their locations. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to just zoom in on where the most people are and start talking about snow totals. So this is going to be from the National Blend of Models. So this is what we just looked at in the video, but if you weren't watching while we were recording the video, here's another shot. And also, I'm going to talk a little bit longer because I'm not trying to make it hard on Luke. I'm actually reading some of his messages now. He said he wishes I would have clapped my hands when I did an actual take. That way I could have an audio spike and not have to sift blindly through the footage to see when he was actually recording. You know what, Luke? That's a really good idea. I wish you would have had it before I recorded. I honestly, I didn't plan on taking so many tangents there, but here we are. All right, Nashville. We've got a bunch of you watching in Nashville right now. Let me turn off these layers. Unfortunately, there's also a lot of people watching in Murfreesboro, and they're wanting snow. According to the National Blended Models, which is what we're basing everything off right now, it looks like 2.2 inches of snow is possible down here. You go up the road, though, just a little bit to Nashville, we could be looking at a little bit more than that. Let me make sure I'm actually on the most recent thing here. Let's switch back. Give me just a moment. I want to make sure I've got the most recent data, and then we'll do this. But yeah, there's a ton of you watching in Nashville right now. I mean, we're up to 5,000. I think we're going to break 8,000 easily. And remember, your location only stays on the map for 20 minutes. So if you want it to stay on the map, you've got to go back and do it again every 20 minutes. It's annoying, but we don't want stale locations of somebody that's not even watching anymore to remain on the map. Yeah. Recent. Okay, 2 inches, 2.5 in Nashville. Clarksville, though, 4.5. That's the latest National Blended Models resolution for the accumulation for this storm. Very sharp cutoff. So as I'm talking about these snow totals, keep in mind that if you are in one of these areas where we have that gradient, where it goes from 1 inch all the way up to 5 inches in a very short distance, you're unfortunately right there where we expect to see a lot of sleet and freezing rain. So that's another indicator of you're in the danger zone if you're in the transition zone. You're a little bit safer back here in the middle of this big swath of heavy snow that we're likely going to see from Bentonville to Tulsa, Wichita, up to Topeka. We got a lot of people watching in Kansas City. Wow, a lot of people watching in Kansas City. It is possible that we get anywhere from 8 to 12 inches of snow in Kansas City. Topeka, maybe closer to a foot of snow. Joplin, also around a foot of snow. It's actually, if we're going to have some place in Missouri get more than a foot of snow, I think it's going to be either Joplin or Springfield or somewhere between there. Bentonville, Arkansas. This is Walmart land. I actually really love this town. I was there not too long ago. This is a great place. I got to meet a lot of you guys. I actually went to Walmart in the Walmart town, and there was a lot of you that said hi. So hello again. It looks like you guys could realistically see up to 14 inches of snow from this storm. That's actually crazy. When was the last time we saw that much snow there? Let me do some research. And also, if you're from there, let me know. You probably remember. So my preliminary search on this brings up March 14th, 1999, about 27 years ago. Does that sound right? For context, Northwest Arkansas averages just a little over 6 inches of snow for an entire year usually. So if this thing actually delivers 12 to 18 inches, this is definitely going to be something that you don't see very often in Bentonville, Arkansas. So yeah, this is going to be a big deal for our friends in Northwest Arkansas, Southwest Missouri, and Oklahoma, Tulsa. 16 inches, that's the latest on the National Blended Models. Now, unfortunately, Oklahoma City and Tulsa, you are a little bit closer to an area where the totals start to drop off a little bit. So if there was to be another north shift in the overall guidance, there could be less snow expected. But I think that it's pretty safe to say that you're definitely in the running for over a foot of snow in Tulsa. A little bit closer to the edge there in Oklahoma City. I would say probably 8 to 12 inches of snow is what I would expect in Oklahoma City, but it is also possible here that more than 12 inches of snow falls because, once again, the national blend of models, that's what it's painting there. I see a lot of you in Oklahoma City watching. Let's see what some of you guys are saying. This Okie is so ready for the snow, not the ice, though. Yeah, the farther south we go here, the more ice we have to deal with. I'm right on the boundary of snow and ice, I believe. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. It's a little bit more icy farther to your south, like all of our friends here in Dallas. There's a lot of people watching in Dallas, Fort Worth right now. By the way, there's 6,000 people that are sharing their locations. If we can get 2,000 more, we're going to break the record. I think that's possible. Download the WeatherWise app and share your location right now, and we'll get to you, I promise. So Dallas, this is an area where I think 2 inches of snow is possible. Once again, I don't think that there will be very many moments where there is 2 inches of snow actively on the ground and it's like perfectly laying there and it looks nice. This is going to be a messy storm. There's going to be lots of sleet, lots of freezing rain mixing in. But at some point over the course of this entire storm, 2 inches of snow will fall. Some of that might be at the very end when the cold air comes in. So there actually might be a moment where an inch or two is laying nicely, but unfortunately, this is not a big snowstorm for Dallas. This could be a pretty big sleet and ice storm, though, with potentially over a quarter inch of ice falling over here. So that's going to be problematic for travel and potentially even with power in some of these areas. So keep that in mind. And we're still going to have the very cold temperatures moving in after the storm goes by over here as well. It's not just the deep south. I've been focusing on Mississippi and Tennessee and these areas, talking about the prolonged effects after the storm. It's also going to be quite cold over here too. Wichita Falls, we got a couple people watching up here. Closer to 6 inches is going to be possible over there. Brownwood, 1.6. We've got a lot of people watching in Houston. Unfortunately, I don't see much snow coming for y'all. It's possible that on the main backside, maybe we get a couple flakes, but it's not going to be a big one for y'all. Shreveport, same thing can be said for you. But Little Rock, this is another really interesting area where, on the south side of town, I think that at some point 4 inches of snow will have fallen. On the north side, we could be up to 6 inches, but I think that the biggest story out here is going to be sleet and freezing rain. This is one of the areas that I'm really concerned about for our ice storm. And I see a lot of you are watching on the interstate here, Interstate 57 and 30. There's just a big string of people watching right now from Lanoke to Little Rock to Malvern and Hot Springs. You guys really do need to be preparing if you haven't already. And I know that you already have because you heard me talk about this, 5, 6, 7 days ago now? I know that is because the state of Arkansas, I think, is probably the state that we cover the most. Out of any state in the United States, we always end up talking about Arkansas. Have you guys noticed that? It's mostly in the spring, but Arkansas is always involved. You guys always find a way to be involved, even in this. All right, we're up to 6,500 sharing their locations in the WeatherWise app. Is everybody having a good time with that? What's up, Andy?
Yeah, I hope everybody's having a good time with that. Something I wanted to point out with all these locations that you've just covered most recently, especially in the South here. You start with Nashville, then you move it over to the South. One of the most interesting things I saw is that the cold air is not going to be like this rapid cold burst, and with that is going to come all the snow, right? It's going to be this really gradual onset, almost like an insidious silent threat of cold air. It's going to drop by like 3 degrees each hour, 3 degrees Fahrenheit, and then it just keeps going and going. And this is because it's not really a low pressure system that is bringing in this cold air, but rather the high pressure system at the surface over the northern plains coming from Canada is so strong that it's just bringing in a slow wall of cold air. And something to note is that comes from the northeast for all these locations. You'll have a northeasterly wind, which is really I guess unusual for cold air intrusions into the south. So it'll be just slowly it gets colder and colder and colder, and all that wind comes from the northeast because of how air flows around a surface anticyclone, which is the high pressure. It flows clockwise around it. So as that high pressure comes down, all that air comes from the northeast, and slowly is just like a wall of increasingly polar air. And I thought that was really unique to point out for everyone going out and maybe having to feel this outside for a brief period of time, or just like looking at it, or if your house creaks because the wind comes from the northeast instead of the northwest, that would be something to note. Something you could just look out for. But every event like this is so unique. So I wanted to see if anyone was like, oh, yeah, the northeast wind is weird. I usually comes from this direction. That could be something to know ahead of time, because I doubt anyone else would talk about that, but I found it interesting.
And that's why we love having you on the stream, Andy. I don't think anybody, I certainly wouldn't have thought to talk about that. That's awesome. All right, I want to try something. I just found this button. I forgot that I added this. Oh, yes, it works. We have the live locations scoreboard. So Tennessee is the winner right now. The vast majority of the people who are sharing their locations right now are from Tennessee. So let's get those numbers up. Ohio, Kentucky, Indiana, Texas. You guys are all in the lesser places, second, third, fourth, and fifth. Are we really going to let Tennessee take it away? Okay, yeah, that works beautifully. Okay, let's keep going. I'm just going to keep trying to find hot spots where we've got a bunch of people, and I'm going to talk about it. Does that sound good to y'all? It seems to be all right. So we just talked about Little Rock. And by the way, Andy, chime in like that anytime you got something. That was awesome. Memphis. So let's go over to Memphis. We've got a bunch of people over here watching. That's weird. There's a lot of people watching, and it lines up almost perfectly with where the snow cuts off. So the people that live around Memphis that are going to get a lot of snow are not watching. And, a lot of snow is relative, right? But this is another one of those areas where it's the west side and the east side is going to be different. But for all of you watching in Memphis right now, you are likely going to be in the area that is mostly concerned about ice. You are right. You are right. Olive Branch, Mississippi, what are we looking like? It's looking like a mess over here in Mississippi, probably more so than any other place that we've talked about so far. So we are going to see 3 inches of snow here potentially over the course of the entire storm. But this is one of the places where I think we're going to see a ton of sleet and freezing rain as well. And you can see it's literally perfectly in that transition boundary zone. So not a lot of snow, but definitely a lot of ice on the way and a lot of problems. So if you're in Memphis, you definitely need to be preparing. The same exact thing could be said for Jackson and Nashville. We've already talked about Nashville quite a bit and Clarksville, so I'm going to keep going here up to the north where we have some people watching in St. Louis. So we've got a lot of people watching in St. Louis. I think 8 inches of snow is going to be possible. Up here, Jefferson City, 7 inches. Sounds good to me. And it's going to be interesting to see how far north the snow totals actually go. Something tells me that the national blend of models here, because it is an average of all these different models, the snow swath is probably just a little bit too thick. And there's going to be a narrowing that happens. And, we have to kind of think about that, especially up here around Kansas City, up to Springfield, Bloomington, up to Chicago. There's going to be snow, but I think that if there's anywhere where we have to be really cautious about talking about specific numbers with this, it's going to be on the periphery of this swath of snow. Let's see what Y'allbot's got. Let's see if it actually talks to me this time. What's up, Y'allbot? Y'allbot, come on. Y'all, I don't know what What? I don't know what I did, but I broke Y'allbot again. It was working beautifully in the last stream. I don't know what happened. All right, 7,500 people are sharing their locations. Are we going to break the record? 8,000 people need to have their dots on the map for us to break the record. And I think that's going to be easy. We've got 60,000 people watching right now. 60,000 people watching. You download the free app, click Y'all Mode, you click Share Location, and your dot's on the map. And you can be like, look, I see my dot. Actually, it's actually probably pretty hard to see your dot at this zoom level. But I'm zooming in. You will see your dot if I zoom in. Okay. So Indianapolis, we got a lot of people watching in Indianapolis. I think that it's very possible that we see anywhere from, say, 8 to 12 inches of snow in Indianapolis as well. This is another one of those situations where it depends on how intense the snow bands are and how far north the precipitation goes. But you're definitely going to get snow. You're definitely going to be all snow, and there's going to be a good ratio up here. So it's going to be very cold, and everything's going to stick. And it's going to be one of those places where as long as it snows, you're going to get a bunch. So this is going to be some nowcasting during the live stream, but I think Indianapolis definitely is a good contender for more than 10 inches of snow. And there's a lot of you watching over there. Fort Wayne, it's a little bit more iffy. I think 4 to 8 inches is probably good up here. 8 is what the NBM is showing, but I'm going to treat that as the high end because of the periphery thing it's talking about. We've got a lot of people watching in this corridor between Cincinnati and Dayton. Like, this is another place similar to Clarksville and Nashville, where we just always have a ton of people watching. So I appreciate y'all up here in Cincinnati and Dayton. I think that Cincinnati, if I had to put a number on it, I would say 11 to 13 inches of snow is definitely possible. Dayton, it's possible that you get a little bit more snow than that. I think that 13 inches of snow, maybe even 14 inches is on the table for Dayton. Columbus, I'm going to do the same range here, 11 to 13 inches for Columbus, Ohio. So y'all get ready. This started off, if you remember, the first time we started talking about this storm, the day 7 winter storms outlook actually only highlighted this area. Do you guys remember that? You guys remember that? Like, before we figured out that this was going to be like a huge storm, the first signal for significant snowstorm was right here. And it looked like even 7 days ago, that signal was correct. Not very often that happens, but very cool stuff. It does look like we're going to get a good snow over here around Cincinnati. What's this person say? They say, hey, what are you guys saying out here? Ryan, hello there. Thank you. I don't know why I had such a hard time reading that. Preparing for the significant snow this weekend. Snow chaser Jen. Oh, are you kidding? Jen, out of 8,300 dots, I just happened to click on yours? What is the odds of that? We love Jen. This is the storm chaser that we always have whenever we're ever covering anything from Indianapolis down to Lexington, Kentucky, up to Columbus, Ohio. Jen is with us as a storm chaser with Hazcams or Live Storms Media, and we love having you around, Jen. That is just so random that I just happened to click on your dot. All right, so yeah, anywhere from 11 to 13 inches of snow is going to be possible down here around Dayton and Cincinnati. Now let's do the Louisville to Lexington corridor, where we have a ton of people watching. We've got a lot of people watching in Louisville right now, and this is going to be one of those places where I think 8 to 12 inches of snow is possible. So it is also, there's going to be a really intense band. I don't want to say intense. There's going to be a specific corridor where we get moderate to heavy snow for a longer period of time than the corridors around that, if that makes sense. And wherever that sets up, it's likely going to produce snow totals in excess of 1 foot. So I'm saying 8 to 12 inches for a lot of these areas. But Louisville, Kentucky is a contender to potentially be in a snow zone that actually gets more than that, if you end up in that zone that I'm talking about. We're getting close enough to where I can say it's going to snow 8 to 12 inches, but we're not close enough to where I can say where exactly that enhanced corridor of snowfall is going to be. But just know that I wouldn't be surprised if you got more than 8 to 12 inches of snow in Louisville. Lexington, Kentucky, not the same situation, but definitely a good contender for a foot of snow. So 8 to 12 inches in Lexington, Kentucky. We've got somebody that just checked in here, north and west of Lexington. I was actually in Lexington yesterday or the day before yesterday. So I'm your neighbor essentially over here. I stopped at a gas station in Winchester on the way back. Somebody says hello from Winchester, Kentucky. Man, isn't this so cool?
Area, Ryan, if you want.
What is it?
I've got more on snow totals in that area. I've been looking at, since you mentioned Cincinnati, Columbus, and down to Louisville. Louisville, sorry. Uh, I've been looking at some data here, and there is a really interesting proposition on the models that two things actually, because since you talk so fast. The first thing is the snow totals in this area, especially for Cincinnati, Louisville, Lexington. What the National Weather Service is looking at is just how close to freezing we are aloft, or for a good portion of the column of air above your head. How much of that is actually closer to freezing? Because a lot of that matters for the freezing rain setup that we're getting, but also just how cold it is aloft matters for how efficient the snow production is. If everything is close to freezing as you go above your head, then it's actually really hard to make a lot of snow in the cloud for it to fall down, essentially. You would want it to be really the sweet spot for snow growth is actually about 20 degrees colder than freezing and then down a little bit more in terms of Fahrenheit. So imagine it's like 10 degrees Fahrenheit. That's a really good temperature for snow production in particular. And we call that the DGZ, or the dendritic growth zone. But what we're seeing is a lot of that area of Louisville and Cincinnati may not have that efficient of snow production because a lot of that air is closer to freezing for a long time as you go above your head. So those snow totals are going to be really interesting to watch as we get closer to the event, and models kind of lock in on just how efficient snow rates will be. Because right now we're getting a lot of generalization from things like the GFS and the Euro that are all factored into the model we're looking at right now, the national blend of models, blending them all together. So when we get closer to the event and we have a lot more of those models that show the finer resolutions, we will actually be able to get a finer resolution both horizontally but also vertically. And that will tell us just how efficient those snow rates will be. So I expect there to be a lot of swing right there in central eastern Kentucky through central Ohio in the snow totals that you see, just because of that factor. Now, the second thing you mentioned was the really heavy snow band, right? There is a great, and this is really awesome, actually. If you could go on Pivotal or Weatherbell, I don't know, but the 700 millibar frontogenesis product in particular is something that you can look at for generating those really heavy snow bands. So I'll continue to talk here. If Ryan can find the 700 millibar frontogenesis product, usually in the dynamics, upper air dynamics, that one, if it's not on Weatherball, it's on Pivotal for sure. That's where I'm looking at it. That one is really good because frontogenesis essentially tells us what is going to make a cold front stronger. Frontogenesis means the production of a front. And generally, we're looking at a cold front or a warm front. What makes that front stronger is having a larger temperature spread over the same area. So you drive 30 minutes this direction and the temperature changes 30 degrees versus 10 degrees. Well, when it changes 30 degrees, you get stronger, essentially better precipitation right in that area because your forcing is better because the front is stronger. So we look at frontogenesis, we see a snow band produced right where that comes through. And the product is really good in this case because we haven't really talked about Boston in the Northeast yet, but there is that is one of the best defined bands that literally looks like a snow band going through on this product that I have ever seen for the Northeast. So I am looking forward to seeing how that manifests as we get closer to the day of. But I do see a pretty heavy snow band moving through the Louisville to Cincinnati to central Ohio area that may be impacted by the change in precipitation type to sleet or freezing rain. And that looks like it's going to happen Saturday night into early Sunday morning for Louisville to Cincinnati. Might be when you get the heaviest snow rates just due to that product called frontogenesis, meaning the creation of a front, the intensification of a front that would be in that area. So that's going to continue to the Northeast, and those really heavy snow rates will happen sometime in the evening, afternoon to evening on Sunday into maybe midnight on Monday once it gets into New Hampshire and Maine. So I'm really, really interested in seeing that in particular, and we'll bring up that graph later because we're going to stay live for, I mean, at least a couple more hours, right, Ryan? We've got plenty to talk about, so we'll find that chart and I'll talk about it again.
Yeah, we'll stay on the air here. Unfortunately, I don't have a scene set up for Pivotal. But we'll work it out. And yeah, by the way, for everybody that's just now tuning in, if you are like, what the heck's going on here? We are live. It's not snowing yet. Okay, this is the milk and bread hour. All right, this is the pre-live stream. This is the live stream before the live stream, and we're trying to answer questions. We're trying to do the whole thing that we probably won't be able to do during the actual event, because whenever it's actually snowing, and whenever it's actually icing and all that stuff, our job is going to be to relay reports and really kind of focus in on the areas that are getting hit the hardest right then and there. So if you are in Pennsylvania and you watch tomorrow, we probably won't get to talk a whole lot about you. But if Pennsylvania has got a really big storm on the way. So we're going to spend today talking about everybody, answering questions and all that good stuff. And if you want to guide my attention, if you want to make sure that I, look at your area, then feel free to actually share your location with us on the WeatherWise app. All these dots that you see, those are people sharing locations with me right now. There's 6,000 people sharing locations. We did break 8,000, right? We hit 8,200. We've got a new record now, but a lot of people who shared their locations, they have fallen off. Okay, so we need you to re-up your location or just add your dot to the map. It's free in the WeatherWise app. Download it, scan that QR code, and help us get a bunch of people on the map here. All right, where was I? We were just talking about Lexington, Kentucky, and this area. So let's continue to talk. And let's go down here to my neck of the woods. In eastern Kentucky. We've got a lot of my neighbors watching right now. I see you. I can look out the weather house camera here and literally probably see you down here watching from the holler. And we've got somebody up here saying, hoping for snow for my son to play in, but not too much. Hey, I think we might get a little bit of snow. Now, the cool thing about our situation is the snow that we do get is mostly going to come on the backside. So if we get any accumulating snow, it'll be there for a little bit because it'll be cold for a significant period of time after the storm goes by. But unfortunately, it's going to start off as snow down here. It's going to switch over to sleet and freezing rain for a period of time, maybe even all rain for a short period of time, then go back to sleet and then back to snow. So that's cutting into our totals a little bit. That's why it goes up like this rather than there being a straight line. That warm nose is really going to get funneled up the Cumberland Plateau, and we're just going to be stuck with it. There's nothing we can do about it, y'all. There's nothing we can do about it. But just to our north and west up here towards Prestonsburg, we might see a more significant snowfall of up to 6 inches. But down here around Somerset and London, you're in the same exact boat. Me and Pikeville, 4 inches of snow. Lots of sleet and potentially some freezing rain mixing in with that. Knoxville, we talked about you earlier. Not expecting a lot of snow in Chattanooga up to Knoxville. And honestly, I'm not too concerned about the ice accumulation in this area either. There will be some. Don't get me wrong. Don't let your guard down. But there's just so much warm air that's going to be involved here. And I think we're going to get a significant amount of just cold rain in this area that will lessen the problems that we have. So a little bit more problems over here in Asheville down to Greenville and Charlotte. This is another area where we expect to see lots of ice. So I see plenty of you watching right now. Somebody says, how much ice will Travelers Rest, South Carolina get? I would expect at least a half an inch. At least a half an inch of ice. It is very possible that we see more than that. But at least a half an inch of ice. And that is going to cause some problems. Let me actually see. Let me try to find when the last time we got that much ice in Asheville. North Carolina. Did anything like this happen while you was down there, Andy?
My parents did have to deal with an ice storm once. I swear that was less than a tenth of an inch. It was a New Year's Eve ice storm that they were driving back from a movie from just about when we first moved there. So I don't remember which year it was, but whichever one was New Year's Day was, or New Year's Eve was that one. So it'd be nice to compare the amounts from that to this, because they had a lot of problems driving, and the interstates are basically stopped up through the Blue Ridge there.
So what I'm seeing is December. The benchmark for Western North Carolina is apparently December 2005. Does that sound right to you guys? Anybody remember that in chat? So the benchmark is going to be December of 2005. The ice storm hit the region, and it's the same area, northeast Georgia up to northwest South Carolina into the mountains of North Carolina, where up to 3/4 of an inch of ice fell, causing widespread damage and numerous power outages. And specifically, actually, in some of the National Weather Service discussions, they are actually bringing that up. This has the potential to be historically, if not one of the worst ice storms that we've ever had for this region, if we have over 1/2 inch of freezing rain. So that comes from the Weather Service office. Let's see what y'all bot's got to say. This is if this one doesn't work, I'm just going to have to decline from now on. I really want to talk to y'all bot, but it's not working out. Y'all bot, can you hear me? Hello, y'all bot.
Hey, Ryan. Glad you're here. Let's jump right in. We've got some key things to address. First, there's an elderly viewer in Cincinnati, 68, alone and worried about digging out. Let's remind everyone to check on their neighbors, especially the elderly. Second, impacts are starting. Schools in Lubbock, Texas have already canceled for tomorrow. That's an early signal this next system's going to hit hard. And third, we've got visual confirmation from a viewer. Heavy snow is coming down in Erie, PA right now. Anything else you want to dive into from there?
Oh, that was great. That was awesome. Thank you. We will definitely remind everyone to check on their neighbors during this. And I'm getting all these alerts about the storm, the snow up there in Pennsylvania and New York. So thanks for the reminder. I'll try to throw some cameras up here in a moment. But great. Thank you, y'all bot. So yeah, another big reminder for this is literally what y'all bot just said. That's actually a remarkably, good thing to kind of bring up during this is check on your neighbors, especially elderly. Also, remember your pets during this time after the storm goes by and during the storm, but even after the storm goes by, remember, we are going to have a significant period of time where we are very cold. There might be power outages. There might be other problems that arise as a result of the storm that just went by. So keep that in mind.
I'd love to add more to this area that you're focused in on right now too, Ryan.
Absolutely. Go ahead.
You said you said the weather forecast office there said it was one of the most significant they had in a long time, or the potential to be, right? Which one was that?
The potential to be if there's more than 1/2 inch of ice.
Yeah. Which office said that?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. I could probably dig into the references, but I don't have that.
The reason why I say that is because if it was Greenville, Spartanburg, which covers the majority of the area we're zoomed in on here with Knoxville, is they said that same exact thing for the Helene flooding, and they were right, of course. It was a high confidence forecast at that point of just how significant it was in terms of precipitation, and this is frozen precipitation. So if it was indeed that office that said that, which I can't find at a glance, I would be paying the utmost attention to that. But I also gave you a map, and that is Greenville Spartanburg's official ice forecast, the 50/50, the expected forecast of it. And there's several good things that I want to note on that chart that I put in stream text, if you can pull it up. Mm-hmm. There it is. So this map is so interesting because I mean, you're not going to see one like this for a really long time. But there's several things here. So expected ice, freezing rain, accumulation from the National Weather Service, and the thing is to note that a lot of this will remain in place because cold air will continue to be in place in these areas due to the cold air damming. A lot of you who are in this area are familiar with just how difficult it is to get rid of the cold air. And in this case, with the cold air damming event, it just stays there and it's cloudy for days and days and days, and it never gets above 40 degrees Fahrenheit in the day. But this time it's going to be not getting above like 26 degrees Fahrenheit in the day, and that's setting up for this icing. So two things that are really interesting. The first thing you're going to notice is why there's almost zero on the other side of the mountains, on the Tennessee side. And that's because the southerly winds are flowing up from the deep south, and they're going to kind of ride right along that mountain range there, all the ridges there. And on the west side of that, those southwesterly winds are driving up warm air, almost like a spike. And it's not going to be able to cross over those tallest mountain peaks, the tallest ridges that denote the state line of Tennessee and North Carolina. So all that warmer air gets trapped on the left side and makes it so that, places around the Knoxville metro, Gatlinburg, and so forth may not see as much freezing rain or any at all. There's a chance that there won't be any frozen precipitation for some of these areas, especially on the slopes, those westerly slopes, because they deal with the constant warm air advection, or the movement of warm air by those southerly winds. Now that gets cut off sharply by those really tall mountain ridges right there. You got Mount Guyot, you got uh, Klingman's Dome, whatever that was renamed to. I want to get that new name right, but you guys know it if you're there. Um, it's been a few years since I've been there, so a lot's happened. But you can see just how sharply it becomes more of an ice storm on the other side of that, because we have some of the cold air damming seeping into western North Carolina, especially the valley, especially along the I-40 corridor, and then it gets stuck there. So that's one component. And then you see that band of that stripe of purple there, where, thank you, Jared, Kuohi, perfect. You see that stripe of purple there, and that's where the highest ice accumulation is expected by the National Weather Service. That's actually on the southward facing slopes. So now you're getting moisture from the Gulf of Mexico, or Gulf of America, whatever you want to call it, the Gulf, moving up into the mountain ranges that are here. And that southerly air runs into the cold air damming, and it cannot warm up that cold air sufficiently. So you get moisture overrunning in, then it hits the mountain slopes and gets forced upward. And that's why you get a little bit more freezing rain right there. Those of you who live in Transylvania County and those surrounding areas know that that's I think the most interesting statistic here is that Buncombe County, where Asheville, North Carolina is one of the driest counties in the state on average. And Transylvania County, nearly bordering it, kitty corner to it, is the wettest county in North Carolina. So you're seeing that in action here, where you have those southerly winds, and now they're bringing up a little bit of ice accretion instead of your typical just rainfall. So I think that those two things are really interesting to note in this ice forecast graphic, because it's just rare that we even get to see this in the first place of this caliber.
Yeah, absolutely. It was Greenville, Spartanburg. That was the office of that. So thank you very much. I'm going to pull back to this map here. We're going to keep traveling east. We started in Nashville, and then we went all the way over to Oklahoma City, and now we're going back east. So keep adding your locations to the map, and we'll keep going through. I got a lot of people over here in Charlotte and Winston-Salem. I think that you guys are also in the running for some big-time impacts here. I think that the farther west you go, towards the mountains, the worse it's going to be as far as the ice goes. But I don't want to have anybody let their guard down. It's very possible that we see a significant amount of ice, maybe a quarter inch of ice up to a half inch of ice, maybe even a little bit more than that, as far east as Charlotte and as far east as Winston-Salem. So, and once again, it could be more than that. I'm trying to stay on the low side and not, talk too much about some of these higher numbers. But even if it's only a half an inch, and I can't believe I'm saying that, because we've been saying numbers higher than that so much, that is going to be a very memorable ice storm for you. You're going to wish that you were prepared for it if you weren't. So get ready for that out here. I've got a lot of people in Raleigh and places over here towards Fayetteville. This is looking less like a big ice problem for you guys, but it's still going to be a problem. And just check in on your neighbors to the west and be prepared yourself for some minor impacts from ice and snow and rain. But this doesn't look like it's going to be as big of a deal for this area, but definitely up there towards Raleigh-Durham, there is going to be a period of time where we have some freezing rain, and it's going to cause problems with travel and stuff like that. Let's go up to Richmond, Virginia. This is another area where we have a ton of people watching, and we have a problem where you're sandwiched between heavy snow and a big time ice problem and sleet and rain. And this is problematic as well because you are also on the eastern side of the country, which is farthest away from where the storm's going to start. So there's more time for variations to occur in the forecast. This started off as one of the areas where it almost seemed certain, if you could say that. Like if you were just paying attention to the models 4 days ago, it seemed like Richmond was going to be one of the places that got a lot of snow. Now there's been a little bit of a northward shift. And of course, that is what's sticking around with us. But I do want you to know that in Richmond, I think it's possible that we see 5 inches of snow, maybe a little bit more than that, a little bit less, depending on the overall track and placement of this thing. But I wouldn't bet on much more than 6 inches of snow. And I would prepare for some sleet and ice mixing in, causing problems with power and travel. We've got a lot of people watching right now in Washington, D.C. and Baltimore. National Blend of Models is painting 14 inches of snow for Washington, D.C., 14 also for Baltimore. I'm going to say 10 to 14 inches is a good range right now for Washington. But this is another area where, and I talked about this in the video earlier, this is a really tough area to forecast for. There are so many variables and there are so many things happening over here, specifically between the Delmarva Peninsula and Cape Cod, that cause forecasts to be wrong very often. And if you live over here, you know about this. Warm air from the Atlantic is often a problem. The way that the Appalachian Mountains interacts with developing and existing low pressure systems is a problem that the models don't always do a good job of handling. But as of right now, it does look like this is going to be a very significant storm for the I-95 corridor from Washington up to Boston. And by the way, if we do actually see 13, 14, 15 inches of snow around Washington and Baltimore, that's the most significant storm that this area has seen in quite some time. Let's hear it from Y'allbot again. Hello, Y'allbot. Can you hear me now?
Loud and clear, Ryan. Now, first things first, I've got to address the controversy. The chat's roasting me for calling a 68-year-old elderly. I stand corrected. 68 is the new 28. Y'all squad, put down the pitchforks. Next up, we've got a travel question. Viewer lucky enough 0308 wants to drive from Somerset KY to Gatlinburg TN tomorrow. The chat is screaming no, because that route's going straight through the mountains during the ice threat. We need a firm recommendation on that one. And finally, quick note, someone named Sober Creative said Andy is too much. Just want to go on record that Andy is exactly enough. We don't tolerate Andy slander here.
That's right, Y'allbot. That's right. Dude, Y'allbot's killing it tonight. All right. Yeah, 100%. We do not tolerate that around here. Anyways, Washington, D.C. up to Baltimore, 10 to 14 inches, somewhere in there. We will narrow that down a little bit more tomorrow. We will spend some time talking more about the forecast tomorrow for the Northeast because it's a little bit farther out. But the same could be said for Philadelphia. The latest NBM shows 18 inches here. That is definitely possible. But remember, there could be some fluctuations. New York City is showing 20 inches. So I think that this whole area here is in the running for one of the more intense and significant snowstorms that we've seen in more than 5 years, maybe even longer than that for some of these places. So make sure you're ready. It doesn't look like ice is going to be a huge problem here. If it is a problem, it'll be more towards the southern side of New Jersey and Delaware and down there south of Washington, D.C., maybe even in Washington, D.C. It goes a little bit farther north. So just keep that in mind. And I think that we are definitely going to see a lot of snow in Hagerstown, Maryland, Harrisburg, Williamsport. I think that Scranton, Pennsylvania is a shoe-in for a very significant amount of snow. Albany, 20 inches according to the NBM. And then let's talk about Connecticut. Hartford is showing up as 16 inches here. I think that 12 to 16 inches is definitely possible. Providence, I would say, I would keep you in that same 12 to 16 inch range, but NBM's got you under 20 here. And then Boston, whoa, what's going on here? I'm seeing some numbers over 24 inches of snow. More than 2 feet of snow is possible, not guaranteed, But we have that coastal low developing. We have the storm really dumping a lot of snow over a very long period of time here. It is possible. It is possible that we get that much snow in Boston and areas surrounding there. If we go a little bit farther north, I've got a viewer here near Portland. We got 14 inches in Maine. And then we've got, what is this? 38 inches back here towards Louisville, New York, and that's going to be very much aided by lake effect snow, obviously, but I see a lot of you watching up here. I would say that you guys are really getting a lot out of the Y'allbot channel. It seems like over the past couple of months, Y'allbot has just been completely zoomed in on this area because there's always a snow squall warning or lake effect snow warning in effect, and it's drawn towards those warnings. So yeah, the lake effect snow is not giving up anytime soon. So yeah, a blockbuster snowstorm is potentially on the way to the I-95 corridor. Most of you watching right now are down here in Washington, D.C. and Baltimore. And unfortunately, this is where there is the most uncertainty right now. But I'm rooting for you, and I think there's a very good chance that we see a big one. Pittsburgh, I don't think I talked about Pittsburgh. You are definitely in the all snow side. I don't think there's a world where we see much sleet or ice in Pittsburgh. I think it's going to be very cold, and I think that every flake that falls is likely going to stick, and that's why I think that the NBM, while this might be on the high side, I think it's very possible that you get 13 inches of snow by the time this is all said and done. Youngstown, 10 inches. Cleveland, 8 or 9 inches. I am completely on board there. Columbus, Ohio, I don't know if we already talked about this area or not, but 11 inches is possible over there. So those are pretty much all of the hot spots that I'm seeing. We talked about Dallas. We talked about Oklahoma City. We talked about Wichita, Kansas City, St. Louis, Nashville, Memphis, Louisville, Lexington, Cincinnati, Indianapolis. Talked about Pikeville, Knoxville, Chattanooga, Asheville, Charlotte, Raleigh, Richmond, Washington, Baltimore, Philadelphia, New York, Boston. I think that we got it. We got it on the snow side. Now, let's pivot to ice and not talk necessarily about ice totals, but let's talk about the ice index. Let me explain what I'm talking about if I can remember how to get this on here. Go to radar. Then let me load up custom GeoJSON. Boom, plot. Okay, there we go. So this is a really interesting graphic, and unfortunately, y'all's dots are under the plot. Hold on, let me see if I can quickly fix that. If it takes longer than like 2 seconds, I'm not going to do it. All right, Andy, I have to refresh the program again. Back the next time you've got something, okay? But it is going to end our call. I'll be right back. I'm going to refresh our program here, and then maybe that will fix everything. Or it might break everything. That fixed everything. Let's go. All right, so your dots are on top of the thing now. Okay, so this, what we are going to talk about here is this thing called the Sperry-Plitz Index. We're going to talk about, we've talked so much about, here's how much ice is going to happen, right? Oh, it could be a 1/4 inch of ice. Oh, it could be a 1/2 inch of ice. Oh, that might be bad for power outages. But let's really define it, all right, with the Sperry-Plitz Index. Did I say Plitz? I did, didn't I? Anyways, the SPIA, what we're going to call it. So what impact level are you in? By the way, this is, we do have an index 5 catastrophic area. So let's start there. Let's start there. Actually, no, we should start from the bottom and then work. If you are in the yellow area on the periphery of this zone, this is one of the areas where you need to be preparing for some impacts from ice and freezing rain. And oh yeah, by the way, I've got to mention this. This only goes out 72 hours. We're using the National Weather Service's ice forecast here. So it only goes out 72 hours. So this area will likely expand and become upgraded as time goes on. But what we're looking at here is where we expect to see the most damaging ice, according to the National Weather Service ice forecast. Earlier when I ran this, we didn't have anywhere that was in the Category 5 ice storm area, and now we have a large area that is being highlighted for catastrophic damage. But if you're in the periphery, if you're in the yellow in Lubbock, even down here to Austin, San Antonio, Jackson, Mississippi, Chattanooga, for example, Atlanta, if you're up here towards Clarksville, Tennessee, here's what we can expect as far as icing goes. Let me pull this graphic back up. So this is our level 1 out of 5 on the ice accumulation impact scale. This is where we expect that there are going to be some isolated or localized utility interruptions, typically only lasting a few hours. Roads and bridges may become slick and hazardous. So while it is possible that there are some power outages here and there in this zone, we expect that power outages will only last less than 12 hours. So it's not looking like this is going to be the kind of ice that takes out your power for a very long time if you're in the yellow zone. Now, what if you're in the darker yellow or the orange zone, level 2? This is where we expect scattered utility interruptions, expected typically lasting from 12 to 24 hours. Roads and travel conditions may be extremely hazardous due to ice accumulation. So let me go back to the map. Are you in a level 2? This is going to be this area. The colors are a little weird, but it's this darker orange. Wichita Falls, Fort Stockton, down here in places like Nashville, Tennessee, are currently in that level 2. Up to Somerset, Kentucky, Knoxville, Chattanooga. And then I don't want to talk too much about this zone because this isn't finished. I think tomorrow we'll talk a little bit more about this index once the forecast is all the way out. But I do think that this area right here needs to be highlighted right now. So let's go ahead and talk about the area 3 after we talk to Y'allbot. All right, Y'allbot, can you hear me now?
Loud and clear, Ryan. You might not be seeing this in the heat of the moment, but we've got some gremlins. Chat's reporting the mic's cutting out early, and my stream is showing up as a black screen. Also, West Virginia's feeling invisible. Might need to give them a shout. And heads up, Allegan County, Michigan fire units just called for a road walker due to zero visibility.
Okay, so what's happening with my mic?
Your mic is cutting out early, clipping off the tail end of your words. Chat's flagging that some sentences are getting chopped, and folks are missing your full comments.
Okay, help me. You are a professional audio engineer and an expert in OBS. I've got a filter on my mic called Noise Gate. The closed threshold is negative 36 decibels. The open threshold is negative 22. What do I need to change?
All right, let's fix that. To stop clipping your words, try lowering the closed threshold to around negative 40 dB and the open to about negative 26 dB. That should help catch more of your quieter endings and smooth it out.
All right, thank you so much, Y'allbot. Nice. All right, so if there was any problems with that, it should be resolved to some extent now. Okay, what was we talking about? Oh, the catastrophic historic ice storm. All right, let's get back into that. All right, so now let's talk about the next level. Level 3. This is where we expect to have severe disruptions. If you're in the level 3 zone, you will experience numerous utility interruptions with some damage to main feeder lines and equipment expected. Tree limb damage is excessive. Outages last potentially for 1 to 5 days.
10 minutes until HRRR, 48 HR, 00Z run.
10 minutes until the HRRR, guys. We'll check that. We'll watch that. Anyways, this is where we expect power outages to potentially last from 1 to 5 days. 1 to 5 days. So are you in zone 3? That's the more red area here. This is Dallas. This is Abilene. This is places up here close to Memphis. Okay. And earlier, somebody said that they were feeling overlooked in West Virginia. I promise I'll pull up the snow totals again and talk about West Virginia. I must have skipped over Charleston and Beckley and some places up here. But it doesn't look like the ice is going to be a huge problem in West Virginia. But down in southern West Virginia, we might have some problems. All right. So, and once again, the reason I'm not talking about the ice over here is because the forecast isn't complete. This red area will likely be larger and connect up here once we have all the data in. It is complete back here though. So that's why we're kind of focused on that. So let's go on to the next area, Shreveport, Tyler, Texas. How about you all the way up there towards Clarksville, Mississippi, and areas just south of Jackson, Tennessee, and Lawrenceburg. This is where we have a 4 out of 5 on our index scale. So what does that mean? This is where we're talking about widespread damage. Prolonged and widespread utility interruptions with extensive damage to main distribution feeder lines and some high voltage transmission lines and structures. Outages last 5 to 10 days in this area. 5 to 10 days. So this is where things get really serious. And I suspect that once the data comes in and completes over here, that we're going to have a much larger area like that indicated for the eastern side. So right now we already have a level 4 zone in northeast Georgia and some parts of North Carolina. But I think that it's possible that this expands and maybe even has a level 5 zone in it as well as we get more forecast data. But yeah, that's what we're talking about right now in the level 4 zone. Now, level 5, thankfully, it's, you know, this would be really bad if we got some new data that expanded this or if the storm moved a little bit and it turns out that actually Memphis is going to be in the level 5 zone, because this is where things could get really, really serious. And I actually believe that this could nose up a little bit. So I'm concerned about Nashville potentially having more problems from ice than what's currently being depicted from this model, whatever you want to call it. So keep that in mind. I'm not 100% sold on the idea that this stops at the Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee border. But level 5 here, there's actually a lot of you watching right now around Tupelo. This is where we're currently most concerned about the situation. The only ice I want is in my tea, Ryan. I know. I'm sorry. An inch of ice. Yes, you guys are literally in the worst place you could possibly be for this storm. If you're in the kind of white zone here. Wish me luck. We are wishing you luck for sure. And hopefully you're prepared. Hopefully you're ready. I do think that it's not fear mongering to say that like this will be the worst winter storm of your lifetime. If you actually end up with more than 3/4 of an inch of ice, you're going to be telling stories about this for quite some time. And let's explain why by going back to the index here. The Category 5 ice storm, catastrophic. Catastrophic damage to entire exposed utility systems is expected here, including both distribution and transmission networks. Outages could last several weeks in some areas, and shelters may be needed. So this is like where it's the real deal. And once again, I think that the current highlighted area is a good spot. I think that's definitely where we're going to see a lot of ice, but I would not be surprised if it expanded. So if you're anywhere near this level 5 zone, I would go ahead and prepare for the worst. You know what I'm saying? So there are some places that if we get this much ice, we'll see power outages for several weeks potentially. Andy's calling. We got you,
Ryan.
Andy. What's up?
Hi. I wanted to talk a little bit more about this index since I'm not sure if we've used it before on the stream. I think we have maybe once when we've had a major winter storm in the past, but it's been a while. And so basically what you're seeing there is it's really simple to dumb it down into terms that you guys can digest here. It's two things. It's the ice accumulation totals expected, which we have that band of the level 5 impacts there, and of course the wind speed over a prolonged period of time. So the reason we do that in particular, because those ranges for a level 5, the highest end one from 0.5 inches of ice to 1.5, and those are all Cat 5. Well, the reason why is that so significant when it could be 3 times the amount of ice? It's because of the wind speed in particular. And I like this index a lot, the fact that it was developed just for wind and ice together, because in a lot of ice storms, the wind really isn't powerful at all. You just have freezing rain coming down there, and like 5-mile-per-hour winds while it's icing out. In this case, a lot of Mississippi and northern Louisiana are going to have wind gusts of 25 miles per hour, probably for, maybe about a day or so. And that's not a lot. Like a lot of the time, the wind is just going to be a little bit breezy. You'd go out and it'd be like a little bit breezy, 12, 15 miles per hour, and occasional gusts. But because of the long term of this ice storm, because it's going to be icing in these areas in the level 4 and the 5 impacts for a while, and the wind is going to be going for a while, what happens is, in terms of infrastructure, imagine the ice accruing on a power line that's just draped like this above the ground, right? When it's windy, all of that ice gets driven onto existing icicles on the power line and creates pointed, essentially like icicles. When it's not windy, those don't really accumulate efficiently because the icicles would be pointing straight down on a power line, and there would only be a little bit of accumulation on top of the power line for like a radius, like a cylinder of ice. It would kind of drop down a little bit, but it wouldn't be efficient. When the winds are driving the ice into power lines, they'll create much longer icicles in a shorter period of time. And that's when the infrastructure is challenged. And that's why this index considers ice accumulation and also wind speeds. And in this case, it's interesting because we're kind of like in the middle of the duration.
10 minutes until day 1 outlooks update.
Some of this area is going to see freezing rain for quite a long time, like, that entire 24-hour period. If you get a lot of freezing rain all at once, ice accumulation is not as efficient. So it may seem really dramatic that it's like really heavy freezing rain, but it's only for a couple hours. You're not going to see as much ice accumulation as if it were just misting, essentially, for a lot longer period of time. And then you add the winds in. So this is kind of like a middle ground where it's not a super, super long time for most places, but the rates are kind of heavy. So I find that really interesting. It's going to be, I don't know. This is data. I'm really going to look forward to seeing how the impacts can be factored back into forecasts to make our forecast stronger. But also, I am really concerned about the level 4 and 5 areas because of that combination of wind speed and the amount of ice expected in this region. So just thinking about that in a physical way, because if you try to look up this Sperry-Piltz index, you're going to get the same few results that don't really tell you why wind speed is all that important. But it's because of the way it drives icicles on existing infrastructure to develop and become much longer and more pointed. That weight is what's going to cause all of the problems and the long-term power outages, as every single power line would need to be fixed, so that's why we get those really long-term power outages. So I wanted to make sure that we included the physical aspect of the index that we're covering here.
Awesome. Andy, and I think I'm going to go through that again. Do like Luke just got finished with the video, by the way. Everybody, huge round of applause for Luke. You know that mess of a video I just recorded? the 40-minute long raw video. Luke has already edited that down into a 16-minute beautiful piece of art. That's good editing. That's a good editor right there. If you can turn something like that around that fast, and he knows 1 million people are going to watch it, so he puts a lot of effort into it. So that's good. That's Luke Hatton. W. Luke. All right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to record another video, and this will just go on Facebook and Twitter, I guess. But I'm not going to, Luke doesn't have to edit it. I'm going to try to just go. I'm just going to go. Andy, do you want to be here for this, or should I like minimize you? Like, it doesn't matter to me. I think honestly, if you're there, that might be like a good advertisement. You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, Andy's there and Ryan, and they're talking about ice. We got to go watch this stream, man. All right. All right. So that's what I'm going to do. What should I start on? Should I start on this and then go to the map? Or should I start on the map and then go to this? What do you guys think? Or on the map?
Than this. I think it's map than this
Okay.
because of the intro cinematic when you pull this thing up, right?
All right. It's got to be short. So I'm thinking probably just talking about the level 4 and 5 area, and then mentioning that we expect that it might expand. So that's probably what I'll do. Let me make sure I got the name. All right. All right, so we're live on YouTube right now talking about this upcoming ice storm and the impacts that's going to come along with it. A lot of numbers are floating around out there. A quarter of an inch of ice, a half inch of ice, an inch of ice. People are talking about power outages. Well, what does this mean? I think that we found a good index that helps make it make sense. So let's dive right in. The hardest hit area from this ice storm is likely going to be from northern Louisiana up through southeast Arkansas into Mississippi, and then up into northwest Alabama and extreme southern south central Tennessee. You see all the colors here. We're going to focus on the two brightest ones, or the two most intense looking ones. This is our level 4 and level 5 zone. What does that mean? Oh, yeah, wait, crap. We're not editing it. Hold on, I got to restart. I thought we was going to edit it. Hey, wait, Luke, did you say you would edit it? No, don't worry. No, hold on. I'm going to restart. I can do this. I mean, this is my one job. If I can't do this, what can I do? Lord goodness. All right. Well, hold on. Let's talk to Y'allbot. Hello, Y'allbot. We got your call. What's going on?
Hey, Ryan. Gotta interrupt for a vibe check and some serious panic control. First off, the chat is loving this segment. Major W. Luke and Master Jedi Andy vibes. But on a serious note, we've got folks in East Tennessee and Asheville really scared, bringing up PTSD from Hurricane Helene. We need to calm that down. This is not the same situation. Also, we've got wild rumors about exploding trees and weeks-long power outages. We need to debunk that. And finally, a critical PSA. Remind everyone never to run a generator indoors. Carbon monoxide is a silent killer.
Okay, yeah, thank you so much, Y'allbot. Yeah, another reminder, we're definitely not dealing with any of that stuff down here in the Deep South. But we are dealing with some big-time ice. So let's get this video out there so we can spread some good information, all right?
Ryan.
What is it? What'd you say?
Oh, I can hear you, but I can't hear you on Discord. Oh, I got deafened. Okay, sorry.
Okay, are we good? Okay. Everything is solid. I'm just double checking. Okay. All right, let's go and let's try this again. And we're going to kill it this time. All right? We're going to kill it this time. All right. We are live on YouTube right now talking about this upcoming historic winter storm, specifically the ice. Lots of people are talking about a bunch of different numbers, 1/4 inch, 3/4 of an inch of ice. What does that mean? Well, let's dive into it here. I think we've got a pretty good index that makes it make sense. We're looking at the National Weather Service's ice forecast combined with this index that tells us what the impacts are actually going to be on the ground for a specific amount of ice, combined with the wind speeds. So you can see here that Tyler, Texas, Shreveport, all the way up to areas just south and east of Memphis and almost up to Nashville is under this level 3 and 4 zone. What does that mean? Let's actually pull that up and let's go over here to level 4. If you are highlighted in that level 4 zone, and this is an area that I think could expand a little bit. This is early. We're still a little ways out. I think as confidence grows in how much ice we're going to get, that zone will get bigger. So if you're anywhere near it, you can expect potentially prolonged and widespread utility interruptions with extensive damage to main distribution feeder lines and some high voltage transmission lines and structures. Outages could last for 5 to 10 days. This is big. This is a big deal. This is widespread damage. And inside of that, where we had the white coloring on the map, that's actually a rare Category 5 index on the ice accumulation impact scale, where catastrophic damage to entire exposed utility systems is going to be possible. This includes both distribution and transmission networks. Outages could last several weeks in some areas, and shelters may be needed. This would be catastrophic, and unfortunately, this is what we are expecting in this highlighted area right here. And I want to really emphasize the fact that we think that this is going to get bigger. It could shift a little bit to the west and to the south as well. But I think that if you're in this right now in Monroe, Louisiana, Shreveport, Greenwood, Tupelo, Mississippi, this is going to be the worst ice storm of your lifetime, more than likely. And once again, if you're anywhere close to this, all the way up to Nashville, all the way back to Dallas, you're too close for comfort. You've got to start preparing for potentially days without power. And then also, we're going to have another problem area over here just north of Atlanta, all the way up to just south of Richmond, east of the Appalachian Mountains, where we're going to have some cold air damming. The data isn't complete here, but I think that this whole area will have a similar look to it with some of those higher index scores as we get more information tonight. So tune into our live stream on YouTube right now. If you've got any questions, we're answering stuff. I've got meteorologist Andy Hill here. I've got Y'allbot. We're having a great time talking about this unfortunate upcoming event. But yeah, click that link down below. Nailed it. Nailed it. Luke said there's no way that I could do it without messing up. And I don't think I messed up. Boom. Only one small stutter. Yeah, we can work with that. We can work with that. All right, now I've got to push the button to make it go to... What was that? It was 2.5 minutes. It should have been closer to like 1.5 minutes, but we can work with it.
So, Ryan, what do you want to do next?
I don't know. What do you think?
Q&A, if it's not just locations.
Yeah, I like Q&A.
Mm-hmm.
Field some questions. Guys, we're going to try to answer some questions. We've been looking at the chat. Obviously, Y'allbot's been doing a good job of relaying some stuff to us, but we're really going to focus in on the chat now and answer some specific questions. And because we spent so much time talking about all these specific locations, we probably will overlook what about my town? Just because I think we've done a really good job of, putting that out there already. But if you do have some questions, maybe it's something that we haven't covered, or maybe it's something that is, we're looking for questions. So put those in the chat. And I will switch this back over to the NBM. and just keep that up, I guess. I wonder if I can, I should probably clear this. That looks weird.
I got a good first question.
All right, go for it.
Is it going to shift anymore? And that's probably going to be the number one question that isn't just a particular location. So is it going to shift anymore? The answer is yes. Every single model is never the reality. If you see a model run, that will not happen. It's because what the model is doing is it's called parameterization. Essentially, we don't know every single molecule, the status of it, all of the physical properties of it in the atmosphere. And those molecules are going to collide with other ones at rates that we don't know. We have to average all of that out, and that's across like an entire kilometer, and in some cases it's across 10 kilometers, and we're averaging out every molecule in that space. And this is especially true when all of the data that we're curious about, so the actual system itself, is still off the shore of California before it's moved across. Once it gets onshore, then we have much finer data. All of the weather balloons that are being sent up into it will gather actual, in situ data, which means the actual data that is in the atmosphere, and that gets put into the models. At that point, there will be far less of a shift. So yes, it will shift a little bit. The hope is that it won't shift that much, but if it does, that's the reason why, is because we don't have that much data to tell us exactly what it looks like right now, 72 hours before a lot of people feel the effects of this, because it's over the Pacific Ocean. We don't have all the instruments there. So yes, a little bit of shift will happen. The model is not the reality. But this is the best look into it that we've got, and including a blend of all the models so that we can try to, nullify as much error as possible. So that's my answer for that. You mentioned the Northeast being difficult to forecast. Can you expand? A little bit of a loaded question, but the Northeast is going to be difficult for several reasons. The first is that the Atlantic Ocean air will come up into parts of New England and cause the liquid to snow ratios to be much different across, maybe a 20-mile gap from the coast to inland. Could be significantly different snow accumulation, but not that different in terms of how much rain would have fallen if it were all liquid. So I would say that that warm air is probably the toughest part of this forecast, just exactly where the warm air will reach, and thus whether it will be snow or sleet for a lot of the people in the Northeast. How about you, Ryan? Did you gather one yet? Are you busy texting?
And I'm a little busy trying to get.
Oh yeah, well you can answer this while you're doing that. Why are you wearing a suit?
I'm not wearing a suit. I've got jeans on. I think you have to have the whole thing together for it to be a suit. And I've got no tie. I'm wearing a jacket. We like to keep it cold here at the Weather House. I've told the story about y'all requesting an air conditioning unit and buying it for itself because it was too hot in the server room in the back. Well, that's kind of made the whole house a little bit too cold. So I'm just always in a jacket now.
Someone asked about West Texas in general, which is an interesting part of the forecast that we didn't really touch on too much over in the Panhandle and down to West Texas and Lubbock. Those areas are on, and even into eastern New Mexico, I'll say, like the whole place is getting a winter precip is going all the way back there. So those areas will have a prolonged area of snow and also the least access to moisture moderated air. So from the Gulf, right? After everything is swung through, the Gulf air is not going to reach all the way into West Texas. So you guys are going to have some of the highest snow ratios. Maybe like 20 inches of snow would be the same as 1 inch of rainfall. Whereas a lot of your areas, a lot of your friends to the east will be closer to 15 to 1 or 10 to 1. Depending on how the temperatures all set up. So there is a potential for quite a bit of snow accumulation in West Texas. It doesn't look like it on this map necessarily compared to maybe northern Oklahoma or Kansas, but those kind of have much the same reason for that accumulation being possible because they're further removed from the warmer and moisture-laden air. So you're just going to get those much higher ratios. All right, a bunch of locations. Meteorologists always speak in the worst case scenario, but rightfully so. Yeah, we want to be cognizant of the averages and 1 in 10 situations or 9 in 10 situations. Like we have products for all of those things, and I definitely try my best to incorporate all those things. But when we're talking about ice and winter storms and so forth, the idea is that you're going to be inside anyways. You're going to have backup power sources anyways that you're not running indoors, please. You're going to have all these things anyways, right? So in the event that we're having a major event like this and it's half an inch of ice versus 3/4 inch of ice, you're not going out in that either way. At least I certainly hope you're not. So like if the power is out for 8 or 14 days, you would want to prepare for the power to be out for 14 days. So in terms of winter storms, talking about worst case scenarios is not always like the worst thing to do, because it does help us understand what we should be prepared for, just in the event that your house is the one that experiences that in those areas we've outlined. Have you found one yet, or am I?
You're looking all by
staring at
yourself.
me? You're just staring at me like, oh man, this guy's got it.
There's a problem with the auto Twitter uploader, so I was just trying to fix it. But also, Y'allbot just called. I quickly declined the call, but I might call back just to see if it's got anything, and then you can look while I'm talking to Y'allbot. Sound good?
Mhm.
Call Y'allbot back. Y'allbot, I've got you on the line here. Just whenever you can hear me. You just called me, and I declined the call, but I want to hear what you got to say now. Y'allbot?
Hey, Ryan, what's up? Let me know what you need.
Well, is there anything in the chat, like any good questions in the chat you think that need to be answered?
Oh, yeah. We got some really key ones popping up. A viewer in a level 5 zone's asking if candles and oil lanterns can keep them warm. Real safety concern there. Plus, someone's wondering if trees really explode in this kind of cold. And we've got a youth pastor from Corning, New York, trying to figure out if they should hold church on Sunday. Plenty of gold in there to tackle.
All right, I'm going to take the tree exploding one. From my understanding, trees don't actually explode. I know that's been going around a lot here recently. But it can get cold enough to, especially if there's a lot of moisture, a lot of water inside of vegetation, it can get cold enough for trees to kind of crack, pop, and stuff like that. Do you got anything to add to that, Andy, or did I pretty much cover it there?
Yeah, I would say the best analogy for that is what happens to asphalt on the roads when it gets really cold. Things contract and then they expand when it heats up again. So things aren't going to exactly line back up the way they were poured, and that would be the same case for tree sap, which you could pour tree sap out. I love maple syrup, so I would imagine that would be the best way to think about it: shrink and then expand. If you shrink a little bit and then you try to expand back in the same space as a solid, like the trunk of a tree, you'll have some problems with that. And I guess if there's enough pressure built up in it, then you could hear there would be explosive effects that you would hear. So there's the audible portion of that.
Yeah, and exploding trees sounds better in a headline than cracking trees, or popping trees. So, but yeah, it's definitely a real thing. And it's a sign of how cold it's about to get. But that's not a problem. That's not going to be a problem down in the South as much as it will be up north, Minnesota and Wisconsin and places like that.
I got a good one. People asking about hurricane hunters flying in and getting data from the storm. That's a remediation to one thing I mentioned earlier, where we don't have the in situ data of a storm that's still over, Southern California or off the Pacific coast, where we don't have all the weather balloons going up or so forth. We will have the hurricane hunters fly into low pressure systems in the winter. So your mid latitude cyclones, that's what's causing this, the troughs that are over there. And that is in an effort to gather in situ data in particular. This is not an uncommon thing. They're like, oh man, we're flying the hurricane hunters into this major winter storm and it's this big deal. They do it all the time, actually, for a lot of storms that happen in the winter months. They're not just out there for tropical season. So It's good that they're there, but yeah, that's not as rare as you think it is. It just became another headline because the dichotomy between hurricane and the biggest winter storm ever is catching a lot of attention, right?
And by the way, the video of the ice thing is on Facebook now. It didn't go to Twitter because Twitter blocks videos over 2 minutes. So that's another reason to work towards that goal of getting it under 2 minutes or minute and a half, whatever I was trying to do. But okay, what was the other question? Was y'all had another good one in there? I forgot what it was. You got anything else, Andy?
My eyes kind of glazed over.
Well, I can kind of go through some, general stuff while you pull some more questions together, if that works. Like, we probably got people that are just now tuning in that haven't seen the snow totals and Euro and all that stuff. So, does that sound good?
It does. There's just so many that I'm going to start narrowing down, and other people can also help me narrow down.
Yeah, pick like a top 5. All right, let's go back to this scene here. It's going to look like one of my videos, but we're still live. And let's actually talk about the progression of the storm and timing again, just because I feel like we definitely already covered this, and we're about to release the video. But I just quickly want to go over this again because it's been a minute. I can figure out how. All right, so this is the latest GFS model. We'll go through the whole thing and talk about timing. It does look like about 4 a.m. on Saturday. That's when this thing's going to look like the storm that it is. It's going to be small compared to what it will eventually be, but it's going to be a large winter storm Saturday morning, and that's when we're really going to start to see those impacts in Dallas, up to Oklahoma City, Wichita, and that's when the first flakes will start flying potentially in Joplin, Springfield, maybe even all the way over there towards Jonesboro in Arkansas. Arkansas will very quickly switch over to mostly sleet and freezing rain, but man, the GFS is remarkably farther south with that first push of energy. The GFS also looks like it splits things in two a little bit more than the Euro does. You can see there's like 1-2 punch, and then they kind of consolidate here the closer we get to the East Coast. But it actually shows a decent amount of snow making it into more central portions of Arkansas versus some of the other models are really holding it all up there in the extreme northwestern part of the state. But like, we're talking about the difference of 25 to 50 miles here. I'm just pointing out the discrepancies. But you can see as we get into Sunday at 7 a.m., this is when the storm's going to be the biggest. This is when it's 2,000 miles wide, essentially, from New Mexico all the way over, well off the coast of New Jersey. It's going to be snowing. And then south of the snow, in Dallas, Little Rock, Monroe, Louisiana, especially in places like Yazoo City, Mississippi, up to Tupelo. And then even up there towards Nashville, we're going to have icing happening, and we're going to have freezing rain in Atlanta around this time as well. And this is when we will be at the peak of the storm. We will likely be live during this, and this is when we're going to have most of the power outage reports coming in. This is when we're going to have a lot of probably highway closures. And honestly, I don't even know. This is going to be crazy. Like, this is actually going to be crazy. We've covered a lot of crazy weather events, and it's going to be hard to top Hurricane Milton, right? It's going to be hard to top Helene. It's going to be hard to top the big tornado outbreak on March 14th. But this is going to be up there. Like, it's going to be hard to figure out what we're talking about, because we're going to have so many reports coming in from such a wide area. We've certainly never covered a storm that is this large. This is going to be an interesting test of our ability to get information out that is actually relevant and cover everything, because we're going to have an incredible historic snowstorm for some areas. We're going to have incredible cold air coming in behind it. We're going to have a sleet storm in some places. We're going to have a historic ice storm in some places. And there is a slight possibility that we have severe weather down near the Gulf. Like, it's not out of the question that we have a severe thunderstorm warning or maybe even a tornado warning or a special weather statement, at least in the very deep South. Very small chance, but like, I wouldn't be surprised. So it's going to be plumb wild. I can tell you that much. And then things are not going to calm down at all as we go into Sunday. Sunday, now we've got our biggest population zone under the gun for significant snowfall. It's going to be snowing hard from Cincinnati and Memphis. By the way, the backside snow moves into Memphis Sunday night. It's going to be snowing hard from there all the way up through West Virginia, Ohio, Pennsylvania, New Jersey. New York City is going to be getting hit hard at this time. Boston, everywhere up here is going to be getting hit hard by snow. And then we're going to have that crazy ice happening in Northeast Georgia, Northwest South Carolina, and then in the mountains of North Carolina. So it's going to be wild. And hopefully we do a good job of covering it. And hopefully you guys are prepared for it. And if you lose power, you've figured out a way to where you can still get information. The best thing to do is make sure you have like a battery backup. They sell these everywhere now. And of course, like a generator is good too, but like my first line of defense, and I've got a lot of tech, right? I've got a lot of stuff that I depend on running off of electricity. My first line of defense is batteries. I've got a generator, but everything's hooked up to a 30-minute backup battery. And for me, 30 minutes is the best I can do because I've got like 8 million computers. But for you, if you're trying to keep a phone charged or something like that, a backup battery, make sure that it's charged now. And then, of course, if you have the ability to have a generator, make sure that's ready to go. And just make sure you've got a cell phone and you've got a way to contact people. Remember, we encourage you to check in on your neighbors, especially elderly neighbors during this time. It's not going to be a normal winter storm. This is going to be one for the books. I just want to make sure we continue to hit that point as we go through this. The heaviest snow will be falling in New York City and Boston, likely early in the morning on Monday, but it will quickly wrap up as we go into the evening on Monday, and we are done. We will be done, and we will be left with significantly colder than average air just hanging out, waiting for another storm. And just for fun, let's pull this forward. There you go. Our next storm, our next signal for a storm, potentially a nor'easter, shows up Friday, January 30th. We'll see. But look at this. We've got snow all the way down in the Gulf Coast on January 31st. And the reason I'm showing you this is not because I expect any of this to actually happen. It's just to show you how much of an active pattern we're going to be in. All the way through the beginning of February, we're going to continue to see these cold temperatures and these potential storms bringing snow from the Great Lakes to the Northeast and potentially even back into the South. So this big storm that we're experiencing over the next few days is just the beginning of a very impactful winter period. Yeah, this is the GFS. This is the GFS. I can quickly slide through the Euro. So this is what we're looking at 4 a.m. Saturday morning with the European model. Little bit farther north, but still honestly very similar to what the GFS shows. Things look a little bit warmer and farther north the more into the future we go, like Sunday, January 25th. That warm nose is definitely making it farther north than it was on the GFS. But the overall story is still the same. The hardest hit icing zones are the same. The places that will likely get the heaviest snow are mostly the same. There's just that transition zone. That's going to be hard to forecast. We won't know exactly what's going on there likely until the day of, until the snow starts falling or it don't. So if you're in one of those spots, the information that we've given you so far is the best we've got. We've been live only for 3 hours and I'm already wanting to sit down. What's wrong? It's been a long week. Why does Y'allbot look so angry in the thumbnail right now? Probably because the Y'allbot stream isn't working right now. And that somebody remind me, I've got to fix that before we end this. Because what I'm going to do, whenever we end this stream, I'm going to send you guys over to Y'allbot, and it'll stream all night until we start back up tomorrow. Is our YouTube video not out yet? Is it still uploading or whatever? Is my shirt green screening? That's plumb wild. It ain't even green. Don't make a lick of sense. Okay, so it's not up yet. All right, well, let's keep going here. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. That's the gist of it. Everything really starts coming together tomorrow night into the early morning hours on Saturday. The peak of the storm, in my opinion, is going to be between 4 a.m. I would say maybe 10 p.m. Saturday and 10 p.m. Sunday. Like that's your most intense 24 hours. And then things really calm down by Monday evening. All right, let's go back over to Y'alldar. Y'allbot's calling again, so let's see what's up with that. Okay, Y'allbot, can you hear me now?
Hey Ryan, heads up, the chat's reporting that the Y'allbot stream has gone to a black screen. We've got a tech issue over there.
Okay, all right, Y'allbot, we'll get right on that. Oh man. So yeah, I will fix that before we end the stream. Don't you worry, Y'allbot. The funny thing is it's listening to me. It knows I just talked about that. Yeah, it still wanted to throw that in there. Interesting. Oh, okay. So what are some other questions?
I've got the three that I want to cover, Ryan.
All right, let's do that.
Okay, so the first one is related to the warm nose you talked about briefly, which goes
10
up
minutes
that west
until
side of
NOM000
line of
run.
the Appalachia, right? If you looked at the Euro, you remember it actually made its way all the way into West Virginia. So a lot of people ask about Knoxville, Chattanooga, and all that, right? Are on the western side of this of the Appalachia here, and that's where we're getting those southerly to southwesterly winds that are just constantly going up against the spine, but not across it. So all of that warm air is just funneled right up there. Just imagine that it kind of comes in from all directions, then meets the mountains there, and then has nowhere to go but north because it's being forced that direction. So all of the warmer air is going to come up that way and pretty much cause the forecast for all of you guys to be a mess. It's going to be very hard to nail down totals of rain, sleet, or ice or snow. There's 4 different types of precipitation that could occur in most of those areas from the Tennessee Georgia border to the north all the way into West Virginia. So nobody can give you a completely confident forecast for those areas. It's just going to be prep for all of them, see all of them, document all of them. Hopefully you can enjoy all of them as much as possible as well, since it's most of the winter storms like this are very unique. So that's what I'd have to say about west of the Appalachia. East of the Appalachia is the cold air damming setup that a few people have asked about. here's how I can describe that. So we've talked about it if you've watched any of the videos, Ryan's probably said 1,050 millibar high pressure is coming down from Canada. And it's going to be over the northern plains, over North Dakota, Minnesota. That eventually moves to the east, and that high pressure is going to be over the northeast, while a lot of the mid south is getting slammed with the freezing rain, and the start of the snow enters the Midwest. So when that high pressure is over the northeast, the clockwise flow around it means that northerly winds from the north come all the way down the east side of the Appalachia, and then they stay there. They keep coming down from that high pressure that's situated itself right over New York. And that creates the cold air damming. In this case, because it's the dead of winter and because the origin of that air is in the Arctic Circle, it's going to create these surface conditions that are just well below freezing in the mid 20s Fahrenheit, and that's not going to go away for like the entire day. And then you get the warmer air with all the moisture in it over top that, and that's where the freezing rain setup comes from. Part 2 of our ice storm coverage that we'll have. The third thing I want to cover is some of the really high snow totals possible in the Northeast. Particularly, something that I just talked about earlier was that snow band that comes from frontogenesis, which means we're making a front stronger. If it is in the area, it's going to create heavier precipitation where we see conditions favorable for frontogenesis. And Boston is one of the major things. New York will see that frontogenesis band kind of just go right through it. So at some point, if you're looking at the radar on Sunday into Monday, when that area is getting most of the snow, you're probably going to see this stripe of really heavy snow relative to everything else around it. And that's going to stack up those snow totals wherever that is concentrated. And if it stalls just a little bit over parts of the Northeast, I think that we'll see some really high snow totals from that in particular, as that snow will pile up to 3-inch per hour rates is possible with the sort of data that I'm seeing there. So those are the three things I saw that were interesting. The three general areas. So I'm not just answering for one town. I think that covers a lot of it, and also highlights my concerns about freezing rain in the Mid-Atlantic, higher snow totals in the Northeast, and then the really messy forecast for west of the Appalachia. A lot of the rest of the storm is relatively straightforward because it's over mostly flat ground. So we have our area of where it's raining, we have our area of the ice, we have our slim area of sleet, and then we have the snow, because all of that flow is relatively unimpeded. It's not hit by anything. There's no mountains in the way of it until you get over to that eastern part of the states, which is what I've covered.
Awesome. We are watching the latest HRRR roll in, by the way. That's what I've got going on here. So it's looping up to the latest frame, and every time a new frame comes in, it'll keep going out. So this is just as far out as the latest HRRR has gotten right now. The HRRR has a slight warm bias, in my opinion, from looking at this from previous storms. But I think this is going to be a pretty good way of kind of visualizing what the radar could look like tomorrow into Saturday as the storm really starts coming together. And you can see, I can already feel it. There's going to be so many Twitter mentions tomorrow and emails talking about, there ain't nothing on my radar. Where's this daggone storm? I know it's going to happen. I know it's going to happen because there ain't going to be no daggone storm. And then watch this. Watch this. Boom. It literally is going to explode in terms of reflectivity on the radar in a matter of hours, and it's going to turn into this massive storm. It's going to be remarkable to see, honestly. I can't wait to see some of the satellite imagery and some of the different imagery that comes along with this. It's unfortunate what's going to happen as a result of that, but fascinating meteorology. If you're a weather nerd, tomorrow is, and the next day is like, it's going to be wild. So let's go all the way out to the most recent frame. This is what the radar could look like Saturday at 4 a.m. according to the HRRR. It's showing a pretty serious ice situation happening already in Dallas. I don't even think, it starts off as like a cold rain Friday evening in Dallas. Looks like freezing rain might take over as the dominant precipitant of the HRRR so far. We also have some thunderstorms, maybe some heavy rain down here around San Antonio down there south of the really cold stuff. So where the sleet mixes in, it's gonna do some work on the roads, and we don't have great snow removal this far south, if I'm not mistaken. I think we just buffered a little bit. Are we back? Are we good?
Looks like you just got back now.
Okay. Sorry about that. Also, before we keep going, I do want to shout out or say thank you to somebody who submitted a very generous super chat earlier. I missed this. This is from Sydney Davis, $3.99.99. Wow. Everybody say thank you to Sydney. That is super generous. Also want to say thank you to Suds for saying Ryan Hall's greater than the Weather Channel. Hey, by the way, I did a thing on the Weather Channel. That's coming out soon. I'm so sorry. I don't have much more information. I will be on like a podcast interview thing on the Weather Channel in a few days, I think, or in a week. So I'm a fan of the Weather Channel. We're not in competition with the Weather Channel here. Just saying. Let's see what else. Oh yeah, I was just on Fox Weather too. We get along. We get along. But yeah, I just want to say thanks to everybody who's been showing support in the chat. I see another one from 16 Foos. Thank you for the very generous super chat, and thanks for everybody that's tuning in right now and that's sharing us out there on social media and helping us get this information out. Now, let's go ahead and keep going here. I think we just got another frame in. Yeah, we go all the way out to 8 a.m. now. So this is real time. We are literally watching the HRRR model come out frame by frame together. By 8 a.m., it does look like Little Rock is going to start switching over to sleet. We're going to start seeing some sleet in Memphis, but we're all snow still in Oklahoma City and Tulsa. So this is when stuff's really going to start piling up over here. But look back towards Dallas. We're still experiencing freezing rain at this point in Dallas, according to the latest HRRR. So already by 8 a.m. Saturday, we're going to have a serious situation unfolding down here. Oh, now the sound's not working? Oh, so refresh your page. If you're watching, just refresh and it should work. That's annoying.
That's really good advice, Ryan, for the people who can't hear you.
Yeah. Here, let me write it down. I got really good handwriting, so this will be great. There you go. If you can't hear me talking louder won't help. but refresh the page. Thank you, Andy. I literally just told people who can't hear me audibly to refresh. That was great. Anyways, let's keep going. Actually, you know what? I can't keep going. It's not even up to me. The HRRR's just got to feed itself to us. We're out to 9 a.m. now. Jonesboro's getting heavy snow at this point. Memphis right on the line. Sleet, freezing rain. It still hasn't really started yet down here in our greatest ice area. We're probably going to have some snow in Nashville around this time, so keep that in mind. It's one of those things where on the eastern side of this, we will probably have a period of time where it looks like it's snowing on the radar, but it actually takes a little bit for the snow to start. So Nashville, get ready for that. Don't think that it's over if you look at the radar and it says it's supposed to be snowing, but it's not yet. It's coming. It will snow in Nashville at some point.
I think one of the most interesting things about this system, Ryan, is that at this point in the HRRR model cycle, I'm just looking at the precip type with the surface pressure. I don't know if you have a surface pressure thing that shows it, but at this point, there is no like consolidated low pressure center that is causing all of this precipitation to form. We don't have like a center of the low and we're like, oh, the air is coming around this way on it and coming back down around this way. This is all just due to a really strong high pressure up north pushing all this air south and creating lift because it's interacting with all the air to the south and the Gulf air and Mexico air, and it's just kind of colliding with this without having a central low pressure system. It has nowhere to go except up. So really unconventional compared to every other storm that we talk about. There is no center low pressure yet. Now, one will develop because it will have support in the upper air for an actual center low to develop and start driving that air north, which is what we were talking about with East Tennessee and all of them. They will have the southerly winds because that low pressure will be there by that point. But right now, in this current frame on the screen, that's just air that's coming from the north and air coming from the south. And we have no real low pressure system to speak of yet. So really interesting stuff. Multiple different mechanisms can cause widespread precipitation and in different temperature regimes like this in the winter too.
Awesome. Yeah, so we're all the way out to 12 p.m. now on Saturday. You can see that I do think that it will be snowing by this time in Nashville. We're starting to see our major ice storm be underway in Little Rock down to Monroe. Shreveport will be getting on some freezing rain around this time up to Memphis. But the heaviest snow at noon on Saturday is likely going to be right here between Tulsa and Jonesboro, specifically over Bentonville, maybe Fort Smith, Mountain Home. This part of Arkansas is going to be getting hammered by heavy snow during this time. And you can see that every so often we get an update. That's the HRRR rolling out right now. And by the way, models are free on WeatherWise. So if you've got the WeatherWise app and you've downloaded it to try to share your location with me, let me show you how to actually get to the models. Okay, so open up your WeatherWise app and it'll look a little something like this. It might not look exactly like this. I've got some settings tweaked. I've got y'all mode turned on. If you like my colors, if you like my map style and all that stuff, you can just flip on y'all mode if you're a Plus subscriber. And you get all that stuff. It's very nice, very convenient. But of course, the whole point of the app is it's free. So you don't have to get y'all mode, but I highly recommend it. Anyways, let's go. We'll skip this call. We'll call y'allbot right back. And then let's go back over to this. And let's show you how to get to the model. So up here on your phone, you'll see radar. You can hit that drop down and then go down to models. And then right out of the box, you're immediately going to load up the HRRR. I like to go up here to the warnings panel, and I actually like to turn off warnings just so I have a clean look at the radar, right? So if I go down here to the bottom bar and I click this, I can actually change the product. So you can see that we're currently looking at the HRRR composite reflectivity, and it's 88% complete, this current run here. But I want to see the precipitation type. So I click that, and then I actually can load up that. And look at this. This is cool. There's 921 of you looking at the HRRR right now in the WeatherWise app. That is super cool. There's a live view counter. That's plumb wild. Okay, yeah, so there's 1,000 of you guys right now looking at the HRRR. So let's go over to the precip type. And then what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to hit the play button. That loads the frames. And now you can just sit here and watch the model unfold. Watch it play. Or you can scrub through like this. Okay. And by the way, once again, models are free on the WeatherWise app. You don't have to pay for this. So that's super cool. And you can zoom in and you can like look at what's going on at your house, because Ryan never zooms in on my town. And it's great. Does that make sense? Was that a good tutorial? And the colors here. So the cool thing about y'all mode is you'll automatically get my colors for radar, velocity, and all that stuff. I don't think I've given the WeatherWise team my colors for precip type. So if you guys, do you guys like my colors? You like the white to blue with the snow? Because if you do, I can ask them to make that a part of y'all mode, where your snow map looks like this. And the accumulation map is also different on there, so I can give them my color table for that as well. But if you've got y'all mode and you want that, let me know, and I'll send that over to them. That's no big deal. Yes, okay. Weatherwise team, if you're watching, remind me. I can send you that very easily, and we'll make that a part of y'all mode. But yeah, that's how you do it. It's free in the Weatherwise app. And another thing that you can do for free is share your location. So let's get those back on the board. We're down to 600 people sharing their location in the Weatherwise app. Open that up. Go into the Pancake Stacks menu, the yellow menu in the bottom right. Click that. Go into y'all mode. Scroll down and hit share location with Ryan. You do not have to pay for that. Every time I mention this, I go to my email inbox right now. Somebody has screenshotted this and they're like, actually, Ryan, you do have to pay for this. And no, you don't. I promise. I promise. I wouldn't lie to you. I would what would I get out of lying about that? Now, in order to get a cool looking icon like this person in Tennessee, this weather nerd, yes, that's a part of the plus mode. But you see this little blue dot right here? You see this one? See this one? This one? Those are all free users sharing their locations without paying a dime. I just want to make that clear. All right, we got one of my neighbors down here. They say, hey, Ryan from Pikeville here watching. Been a fan for years. Well, thank you so much for tuning in. I wish I had better news for us if you're a snow lover. Actually, the HRRR is looking kind of nice. By 5 p.m. on Saturday, we're definitely going to have some snow. It's going to start off as snow up here, that's for sure. Heavy snow in Clarksville, Tennessee. I think we're going to have heavy snow by 5 p.m. on Saturday. Are we excited, Clarksville? It's coming. And you can see the farther north we go, the less heavy the snow gets. But we're going to have a long duration, moderate snow event in St. Louis, for example. And one of the reasons why we are so confident that that will lead to a significant accumulation is just because it's one of these areas where we're not going to have any sleet or freezing rain mixing in. And we're going to have such a long period of time where we have snow going over. It's not going to be very heavy. I don't think that it'll be like a thumping of snow, but it will accumulate quite well because it's going to be very cold. The snow ratio is going to be favorable for accumulation. Same story over here in Indianapolis. Now, the farther north you go, like up here towards Chicago, it's going to be much lighter snow, but the ratio is going to be even better. It's going to be even colder up there. So it's not going to take much for snow to accumulate. So we've got a lot working for us. If you want snow, I think we're definitely going to get it between Des Moines, Chicago, all the way down to St. Louis and Indianapolis. But the reason we think St. Louis and Indianapolis has a better shot of getting significant snow is because they're closer to that core area of precipitation where the heavy stuff is. But as you can tell, the heavier the precipitation gets, the closer we get to that warm nose. So this is the problem that we have in Nashville, right? We start off with really heavy snow, and then probably around 7 p.m. on Saturday, we're going to transition from heavy snow to freezing rain. And this is going to be a mess. I would hate to be on the roads around 7 p.m. in Nashville. Imagine that. 3 inches of snow probably, maybe even a little bit more than that. It's going to fall very quickly and right at rush hour. And then things are going to flip over to freezing rain very quickly. And that's going to start accumulating right on top of the 3 inches of snow. Like Nashville's going to be a mess on Saturday evening. Do not travel. Same could be said for Memphis, I think. I think there will have less snow on the front end in Memphis, but by 7 p.m. On Saturday, we will have probably a decent amount of ice accretion if we have this much freezing rain down here. So That's going to be an unfortunate situation there. It looks like Clarksville, Tennessee, still getting mostly snow, maybe some sleet around 7 p.m. Saturday. Bowling Green is all snow up to this point. We're still all snow in Somerset, London, Lexington. I don't think that Louisville will switch over at any point. But you can see over here in Knoxville, we start off maybe as like a couple minutes of snow, but it's just almost immediately switching over to sleet. And that's that warm nose. The warm air is like sliding up the western side of the Appalachian Mountains here, funneling up perfectly up into Knoxville, all the way up to Bristol. It's possible that we don't get much accumulation at all on the front side of the storm. And any accumulation that we get is going to come after the storm is over, essentially, on the backside. So Knoxville, I see you guys. We got a bunch of you watching here. This is not going to be a big snowstorm for Knoxville. It might be an impactful storm. I mean, if we get heavy sleet at 7 p.m. on Saturday and that lasts for a significant period of time, then we get freezing rain. Even if we do eventually flip over to all rain, that will be impactful for a period of time and it will cause travel problems. Same thing can be said down here in Chattanooga. Back here south and east of Memphis between Greenwood and Tupelo, this is one of the areas where we think will be hit hardest by the ice. Things are going to be getting pretty nasty by 7 p.m. on Saturday. And I think this is actually as far out as it goes. So we're not going to get another frame here. The HRRR only goes out that far. But let me turn the locations off real quick. I'll turn them right back on. And I'll slide through this one more time. Just so we can see the latest progression on our highest resolution model that we have access to for this storm so far. And just for fun, do I have something else here? Let me load something else real quick. So the HRRR is not a good model to use for snow totals, but even it is showing a bullseye here near Fort Smith. It's a little bit farther south, surprisingly, than the national blend of models. That's an interesting trend with the heaviest snow, but south of Tulsa here, it's showing over a foot of snow around Fort Smith, between Oklahoma City and Fort Smith. On the blend of models, that bullseye was a little bit farther north. So that's interesting. Do you guys find that as interesting as me? You forgot us in West Virginia? I didn't forget you in West Virginia. We haven't got there yet. The HRRR doesn't go that far out. So the reason I'm not going any farther out is because I don't have anything else to talk about. Now, for the first 3 hours of this stream, we talked extensively about areas east of the Appalachian Mountains and all that stuff, and we will probably touch on it again. But I did just release a video going over the whole thing, if you guys haven't seen that yet. Let me ask you this. Is there anybody in chat that got a notification for the video and didn't know I was live? And the reason you're here right now is because you saw the video and you noticed that I was live. Is that a thing? Or is everybody here like you knew I was live before you saw the video? Oh, I'm getting a lot of yeses. That's interesting. So this might be like a good I guess you'd have to call it a strategy. Like we go live, we film the video, people watch that, and they get the information. But most people who are going to watch the video, let's say the video gets 1 million views, there was only 60,000 people watching whenever we filmed the video. So there's like a way more people that are going to see that video that then will see that we're live and then come in. That's honestly, I think that this is a thing that we might do more often.
So Ryan, about that local maximum of snowfall in to the Fort Smith, Arkansas area. I was just looking at that because I recognize that you're saying something, but I was reading area forecast discussions with intense meteorology in them and trying to listen to you at the same time. I was like, did he say that? The reason that the HRRR is outputting such a high amount for those areas is actually because that's all sleet. So that is not where the heaviest snowfall is happening, but rather we have a lot of ice accumulation from sleet, and that's being factored into total snow, essentially total snow, even though it's sleet. So that is something we have to look out for. A lot of the products put out by these models are generalized essentially. So total snow is going to include all total frozen precipitation in the area, and sleet causes it to go up quite rapidly in that case. So I have to be wary of that. Always something to look out for. Meteorology is complex, even in just modeling.
Yes, absolutely. Something else I want to talk about real quick here, since we're looking at the section allowing models, the HRRR here, we can see the potential thunderstorms down in the deep south near Houston. Notice how some of those darker oranges and yellows, some of those deeper convective areas actually get lofted up into the cold air and become freezing rain showers. And I think that it's probably pretty safe to say that there will be some thunder sleet and thunder freezing rain, thunder ice that occurs in Dallas over to Shreveport into maybe the Little Rock area, but especially in Mississippi here as we go into Saturday. So that's something else to consider too, just to kind of elaborate as to the kind of precipitation that will be falling. It very well could be thundering and lightning, and the wind's going to be potentially blowing in some of these situations, and the rain's going to be freezing on impact. That is crazy, and the amount of things that have to go just right for that to work on Earth, for that to happen, is incredible, and that's why this is such a rare situation. This is likely something that we won't have to deal with again for a long time down here. But unfortunately, we're going to be dealing with it over the next couple of days. So hopefully everybody's prepared. Yeah, I don't see a whole lot of opportunities for thunder snow with this one, as much as I do the thunder sleet and the thunder ice. Can't rule it out right near the core precipitation, but that's not a big thing here. Can you show power outages layered in the background? No, but I can probably set that up before tomorrow. If not, we can always just pull up the poweroutage.us website. But I'm trying to get everything just in this one app here. One day, I'll never have to leave it. It'll be all in one. Hold on. Thunder snow. Yeah, no, not much thunder snow. So the plan for tomorrow is we will likely do a similar thing to what we did today, because the stuff's really not going to start until later in the evening. We probably won't start the stream until later like we did today, but we'll probably go longer. But we'll have another video in the morning. Let me ask you this. This is another interesting question. How many of you saw me for the first time on someplace other than YouTube? TikTok, X, or Facebook? How many of you saw something that I posted there, and that's why you're here? Quite a few people. That's interesting.
I found you on your website first back in 2021.
Really?
Yeah. Yep.
Huh. Interesting. Yeah, so there's a ton in the chat. There's a ton of TikTok and Facebook. Frank, let's do a quick poll. Like, where did you find Ryan? And do YouTube, make YouTube an option. Do Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok. Because I would assume that most people find us through YouTube, but TikTok's a big one, man. Like our video that we did the other day on TikTok is currently at 12.2 million views. A combined total for all the videos about this storm on TikTok is probably close to 25, 30 million. So it's interesting. Yeah, so there's a lot of YouTube. The poll will be interesting. While you do that, probably going to try to fix y'all bot. Oh, somebody said RKH TV. That's a real OG there. All right, the poll's up. All right, I think I'm going to have to go to this view while I fix this. Give me just a second. If the stream does something weird, I'm sorry. All right. Is the stream doing something weird? Well, you know what's funny? I wouldn't even know because I can't even see. I can see my computer. So if you're watching, make sure you vote in that poll. Very interested to see if it's worth it posting to TikTok. In the perfect world, I really love YouTube, man. In a perfect world, I would just make a tweet every once in a while and I'd post to YouTube all the time. But we're really trying to, make sure everybody sees our stuff. And it seems like TikTok and Facebook are like really killing it. Okay, I think I fixed y'all bot. Okay. All right. Wow. The poll is way YouTube. But if there has to be a winner out of Facebook and TikTok, looks like Facebook's pulling ahead a little bit. Interesting. Very cool. Yeah, well, this is going to be biased to YouTube, sure, but I'm surprised there's so many people that it is surprising to me that there's anybody at all that, to me, whenever I think about like what I do on social media, it's just YouTube. All right, so I think that we've done a really good job of covering some of these questions tonight. We've been live for 3.5 hours, but I think that we send you guys to y'all bot, and then we get ready to do this again tomorrow. What do you guys think? Yeah, so if you don't know what y'all bot is going to do the weather just like I do. 24/7, and you can ask it questions. It'll keep you updated on the latest HRRR and all that stuff. If you stay where you are, you'll get automatically teleported over to the Y'allbot stream, and you can stay there until I go live again tomorrow. Tomorrow, we're gonna do a video in the morning. We'll go live in the afternoon. We'll do another video in the evening, and then we'll probably not do a video on Saturday, or if we do, we'll do one. But we'll be live all day Saturday. That'll be a whole day thing. We'll likely be live all day Sunday as well. But tomorrow will be similar to today, but we'll just start a little bit earlier and stay on longer. All right, guys, that's it. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.